Cymatics is the scientific study of the visible effect of sound and vibration. It was coined by Swiss physician Hans Jenny in the 1960s. Essentially, it involves making good sound waves visible by observing their impact on a medium, like water, sand, or other materials when they vibrate. Sound and vibration. Cymatics explores how sound waves, which are vibrations of energy, interact with different materials. Visible effects. When sound waves vibrate a surface, they create specific patterns or shapes, particularly on materials like sand, water, or other particulate matter. Okay, example, cymatics experiments often involve vibrating metal plate covered with sand or using water in a dish to visualize the effects of sound. Applications. Cymatics is not just a scientific study, no. It is also used in therapeutic settings and even as a visual art form. Some of the therapeutic applications, some practitioners use sound therapy based on cymatics principles to promote health, potentially by influencing bodily fluids and tissues with specific sound frequencies. Visual art. The visually striking patterns created by cymatics experiments have also been used in music videos and other creative endeavors. Wow. Wow. Can I take a breath now? Wow. Carolyn&Larry Roberts down in, oh, by the way, I am your host, your co-host, Larry Locken. You're tuned into Conscious Conversations. I am coming to you live from the Oregon coast, right on the Pacific Ocean. My co-host is Carolyn&Larry Roberts, and she's deep in the heart of Texas in San Antonio. Carolyn, good morning. How are you? How's the heat down there?
Yeah, anybody here knows we're in record heat right now. We're hottest place on the earth yesterday was Austin with the heat index, like 116 or something. I know that I think we're going to climb to 103 here, and with the heat index of 9, whatever, you jump up to the next value is 112, 113. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, you look like you're sweating bullets already.
I'm in the house with the AC. Thank you, God. It's not unbearable out there yet. It's building, and then the highest is usually like in the early evening, and then it starts dropping a little bit, But yeah, it's I'm excited to talk about this, and see what we
say
share.
hi to we should say hi to our folks out there too. We're coming to you live from YouTube, but we're also simulcast on Facebook Live. We're simulcast on TikTok, Twitch, and I forgot them all now. Yeah, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook Live and TikTok. Instagram and Rumble will be next week, hopefully. So, the more the merrier. If we can get another, the more platforms we're on at once, the better. We get so many of them going, we're forgetting, which one we're on and all that good stuff. That's good. Yeah. I mean, this subject matter is really, it ties into a lot of things that I've been talking about lately too, and some of the challenges I've gotten and we've talked about in past shows as far as sound and vibration go. Sometimes vibration can be like the loudest sound you'll never hear. I always say it's just really, when you're in tune with the higher vibrations like that, it increases your perception. I've noticed, right? And so I think in the next stage of human development, we'll be able to like hear light, things of that nature. And I just think that it's just important. And it sounds to me like if it wasn't coined till the 1960s, this term, it's not really something that a lot of people in the mainstream really have a clue about per se.
Yeah, the mainstream to me is my thoughts within me are they're starting to get these indications through like Instagram when people are putting in certain frequencies and those individuals who are not familiar with it are feeling their body react to these frequencies. And these are supportive healing frequencies. And the core thing to me is that I've always gotten within me that the creation of everything is light and sound. Recently I've been told by others it's actually sound. I respect that. I can only speak for me. Light is a very valid aspect for my being. And so it's like, but it's the two together to me that create reality. And so as we're talking about sound, people need to understand or maybe connect the fact that we are energy in these bodies. And so we vibrate. And as we're talking about cymatics and how sound affects matter, we are matter. And so we vibrate at certain frequencies. And so you understand that there's higher frequencies that you vibrate to and lower frequencies and how they affect us because they do. Yeah, the one that I mentioned to you that I would tell you about and you researched as well, Larry, are the solfeggio frequencies. And I'm pretty sure most people in the spiritual community have heard of these.
Hmm.
They came into my awareness. I received recently, like I was telling you a minute ago, I think they were a download to me to research them because there was this name,
Right.
solfeggio, S
Yeah.
O SOLFEGGIO, solfeggio frequencies
Right.
that were like hidden, and the masses didn't know anything about them and they weren't in the consciousness. And then all of a sudden there they were. Like I was guided in like 2015 to look for these, and I didn't know what they were. It was this name out of the blue, this phrase. So I researched them, and they are they're frequencies, they're healing frequencies. And people may not know what they're called, but they're when you're 432 hertz. That's
Right.
that's that's the heart. 528 hertz. There's a whole list of them.
Oh,
You
yeah.
go on Google. You can do 417 hertz. That's about healing parasites, healing, destroying parasites, healing in the body, and there are different levels of frequencies that significantly
Headaches. Yeah,
affect you.
sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, headaches and exactly. And I think it goes to this too. Different ones resonate with different people too. Also,
Yeah,
like some,
yeah.
like there's this one that's this one to me sounds like an annoying fire alarm in the house, or it sounds like it's the 1980s and it's late night TV and the TV's gone off the air and I've just woken up at 2 in the morning and it has that that color pattern and it's got that annoying sound. I had that one. I downloaded that one the other day and I forget what hertz it was, but somebody was telling me that that really helps with their headaches and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, man, it kind of gave me a headache actually. I was kind of joking, but um, it's a lot of it's with what you resonate with as well. But I
Yeah.
just remember being annoying. Somebody was like, "Wow, that's really helping with my migraine that I've had all day." That I was talking to, I showed them that because I downloaded it to one of my
Okay.
channels, putting it
Yeah.
out there, right? And I think it was one of the I think it might have been the 417 you were talking about, or it was
Okay.
somewhere in the yeah,
The the main
yeah,
thing I'm going to mention with the solfeggio frequencies, and there's seven maybe. 528, 432, 417,
right.
3, the Tesla one, 3369. And there's like 111, 1111. And over time you can explore these, but to understand that these are frequencies that, you can find them on like YouTube and probably other platforms.
Mhm,
And they bring your body into that alignment of that frequency. Like 417 is about addressing parasites and like illness in the body. 528 to me is like the frequency of like happiness. But the main thing to understand is, as you're looking for these and as you're looking for it, understand that each one, you're on somebody's page and you've got the composers of the music that is going to
mhm.
be intermixed with the frequency. The frequency is usually underneath and the music is over, the sound is over. So you have to find the one, the composition that resonates for you. And frankly, I'd be quite blunt, make sure that the the, the YouTube page that you're on, that their intent is a loving intent. Just like I
Mhm.
was telling Larry, there, I mean, almost all the ones I've ever found, hundreds and hundreds, they may not resonate with me completely, but they're pretty awesome. But there have been a few I've found, and I'm like, I mean, they put the frequency out there and they've got music, but there's something off about it. And just like with everything, if there's something off about something, well, then maybe that's not for you. But
Well,
I would
yeah,
say that, yeah, I would say that most of the ones I found, even if the music doesn't appeal to me, the sounds don't appeal to me, there's many, many, many choices, and a lot
yeah,
of them now mix. They'll do a 432 and a 528 and and they'll put them all together, or they'll talk about a whole body healing, and you can look at the frequencies that they're using for that, and then they've got the music over it.
Yeah,
The
I've
other
noticed
thing,
that too. Yeah, yeah, right. I hadn't stopped really thought about it, but I've heard that. It's like you were mentioning you first heard of these in 2015. That's about when I first saw that term, and I just kind of I looked at it all those
yeah,
years, and it's just recently that I've started to really listen to some of these myself. You know what I mean? Um, but it really doesn't come into your awareness until you're ready, or you might see it, but it just seems like it's one of them things that kind of flies under the radar, even if until you're ready to really delve into something like that.
it really is under the radar. And the other one that just popped in my head is, for me, and this is a very individual thing, but I know it applies for others. The human voice, like when somebody has a beautiful a tone or their pitch,
Mhm.
even maybe that's another way it's coming through too, because human voice is it's extension of the heart. And for the ones that you're listening to them and you get lost in that voice,
Oh yeah.
you're connecting right with their heart, and that's a healing frequency because that's sound. And that's another aspect of this that's really profound, is to, like, you find somebody and maybe they're singing a cappella and their voice is just undeniable, and you feel like you're floating
Mhm.
in that energy. Well, that's the frequency of their voice, and that's, frankly, I would say that's their heart. That's what they're connected to. That's what they are. And I would also say that the human voice itself, whether you're singing or speaking, you are connected directly to the person in that voice. There's nothing hidden in somebody's voice. It's expressed. I mean, even you got even radio. There's things that are masked, but there's things that you receive depending on how
Mhm.
sensitive you are from the voice, because the voice broadcasts the energy.
Well, how much do you think an intent really plays into it? I mean, as far as, because it's one thing to be able to sing the note and have that kind of a voice range or that kind of a talent, and then
Right.
it sure takes it to a whole nother level when you have that coming straight from the heart. Because if you got a great voice, you can still get out there and
Yes.
wing it, just throw it out there and do it like you're doing this every night, and it's just a mundane routine thing for you to do, right?
Right.
Versus the passion coming out of you and putting it out there.
Yeah. No,
So
I've heard some
too.
people, because I just have musical ears, and I've heard some people and they're not in pitch, they're not in tone, and it's slightly uncomfortable, but
Yes.
it
Yeah.
it's much more, even if they can't sing, but you can feel that passion coming from them, just like you're saying, Larry. Yeah, it's you feel it, even if they don't have perfect pitch, even if they're
Yeah.
off, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it does make a difference. I've been to
Really
concerts
does.
before, or I've heard, artists that really they're great, but then it just seems like maybe they're just dogging it and they're not really giving it their full effort that night. It's just another night on the road for them, and it just doesn't seem like they quite have it as much as when they're really putting it out there. You know what I mean? And either that or, the ones
Right.
I've seen have been really good at faking it, and, the ones that I thought were just, wow, they really put on a great show. But then I've seen others where it just seems like, they're kind of just out for a paycheck or something that particular night.
Yeah, but the other thing I would suggest, because this is what I'm getting, is that, the collective generally is becoming more sensitive, more
Hmm.
in tune to even those that have these awesome voices, but are, not real, not authentic. Um,
Hmm.
and to me, they can feel something, they don't know what it is, but they're just like, yeah, they got a great voice, but, yeah, there's something empty. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I'm getting right now. Um, so yeah, it's one of the tools. And then, did you mention a moto?
No, but no, we were talking about that before we went on air, right?
Yeah,
No, you and Eric were having a talk about it or something. Yeah.
Emoto. Yeah, we were okay. So, Dr. Emoto, you want to bring it up, or do you want me to bring up Emoto for the? those listening now or in the next now
Well,
that
you
don't
you brought
know
him
about.
up. We mentioned him a couple of weeks ago. You seem like you're the fan of him. I don't know a lot about him. I mean, I just know the overview. You seem like somebody that studied him. And
He, I'm, I read it this morning to get it more succinctly, but I can just tell you very generally, he's the one who did the experiments with water, and he
Mhm.
published this book.
Yep. Right.
Music, instrumental music, and I
Mhm.
might not be precise in this, but I'm close.
Yeah.
And so
No, you are.
basically, different bottles he treated differently. Some he was loving with, like he was loving with one, and he was not with another. And then he looked at the structure of the water under a microscope, and he clearly saw
Water will be.
the
Yeah. Water will
the,
be.
the crystals of the water, and the ones that were like screamed at, were not treated well, they're disfigured. They were, and the color was like ugly. It was like this
Yeah.
orangish,
Fast.
brownish,
Fascinating. Yeah.
yellow something,
Yeah.
right?
Got
And then
this
the
kind of
one
gum.
that was loved, the one that was loved was like this stunning crystal structure that was white.
Yeah.
And
It
it's
works with plants too. I think it works with plants. I'm just going to tell you on a side note too. That works with.
yeah. And the
Yeah.
significance of this experiment is profound, because just like I was mentioning a minute ago, we are mostly water. And so
Yeah.
and he said something, I think it was even on the cover of that book, about self-love. And it was about self-love, how we talk to ourselves, because we are mostly water. And when
You
you're
know,
talking about self-love, and you're talking about the music that he played for that bottle, that pleasing, soft, nurturing music, that applies to us as well. And that music would have been at higher frequencies. That music would have been at, like, 528, 432,
yeah.
something pleasing, not an off type music. And we are affected by that. And so the water experiment, the Dr. Emoto's water experiment, is part of Cymatics. I wonder if, yeah, okay. Did you ever see the videos on YouTube? I started watching them years ago, where they put electrodes to plants. Have you seen those yet?
I have. Yes, I have. It's been a while. I've seen. Yeah, I have. It's really. It's
Amazing.
interesting. Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
amazing. If nobody's seen them, this is also Cymatics. They put they play music for, now there's several channels on YouTube. Somebody has mushrooms. But they put the electrodes on the plants, on the mushrooms, and they play certain music. Oh, is that right? No, wait. Nope, that's wrong. They put the electrodes on the plants, and
Yeah.
then you can hear the music, the sounds that the plants emit themselves naturally. Like
Yeah.
when they put them on like trees, or, I mean, it's amazing, because it's like this orchestra of music, a frequency that's happening all around us all the time. And you have awareness of it when you're watching these videos, and they put these electrodes on it. Or yeah,
Somebody
and then,
has a page on Facebook that I think likes one of our pages that they're dedicated strictly to that.
really,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
but
It's really neat.
so amazing. I mean, that's just mind blowing to me, right? That's for anybody watching. That's, that's
I
part
can
of a
see
consciousness
growers out there,
expanding that somebody would
growers
put
out
an
there all over
electrode
the
on a
world.
plant.
I can see
What's
pot
that,
growers
Larry?
all over the world now. I can see pot growers all over the world now hearing that. And I know that it's already been done. It's already being done.
There,
I know guys that talk to them like that. Oh, you girls are so beautiful. You're so lovely. And, yeah, yeah. I used to have a friend and I would tell him, I'd say, you know what? Why are you being so nice? Why not just, tell it like it is and let grow. If you don't bud, I'm really going to kick your ass this season. And he'd be like, "Shh, they're going to hear you." So he was serious too. I'm like, okay, but that was years ago. Now I really, I understand that. I was, fucking 17 when this happened.
yeah. The other thing I was going to add, and I think I said this a few podcasts ago, but when I watched it, it was kind of mind blowing to me. Was when they took, there's a somewhere on YouTube. It's an old video. I think it's got to be probably 25 years old. They took a slice of an old tree, the trunk, and they basically had the slice like a record, and they put that
Mhm.
on like a record player. I don't know how they
Okay.
did it. Don't know how they did it, but they
Sounds
had that
familiar.
and they were playing the rings, which is kind of like what we're talking about,
Mhm.
the electrodes. This was something different, but they were playing those rings. You were hearing sound from the experiences of the tree. And it's a little eerie, I gotta say, but you can look at it because the rings of the tree, when the trees experience trauma, how the rings are. And this was an old tree, and you felt the trauma in the music, in the sounds, when it was on the rings where there was definite, maybe there wasn't enough rain, maybe there wasn't,
Yeah, it's
um,
telling the tale. It's telling the history of that tree,
it,
and
it was amazing.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, I haven't seen them yet do the electrodes on grass, but I'm guaranteed. And I know you're going to take that someplace else, but I'm
No,
thinking
no,
of
no,
like,
no, not me.
I'm thinking of grass on the ground. I wonder what that sounds like, because all the videos I've seen, they put electrodes on like plants and weeds and trees, and they all make these beautiful, these sounds, these frequencies that are around us all the time. And I'm connecting something which makes sense, because I receive the mother, the earth, as unconditional love, her every layer, her every dimension, her every
Mhm.
expression. And to me, that's another reason why it's so healing to go into the mother, is because there's all these frequencies. We hear it in our brains like, okay, frequency, we know what that is. But when we receive it with our heart, when we're out there and we're feeling this expansion, we're also feeling these frequencies that we may not hear, but we are in them. We're surrounded by them.
Right.
Um, yeah, and I haven't. There's the obvious ones of the birds, but or the wind through the trees, but I hadn't thought
There's
about it
so
like
many.
that
There's
before.
got to be so many we don't know. I mean, we can't even possibly know, but not even close to a percentage of them that exist. I'm sure when you start digging into, the earth, and you're talking about the history that you're picking up.
Yeah,
These trees are old. It really tells the tale, and that eerie sound. Yeah, I can imagine what it sounds like. Is it just like just really like something grovelly? And when you heard that,
probably.
what is it? Grovelly? Is it
It was
okay?
it was
Um,
so you've got, and I'm not a musician, even though I have a musical ear. I'm not technically a musician. And
right.
so I guess you've got the notes, the pitch, the ones that are pleasant to the ear and the ones that are not. Minor and major, is that what I'm getting?
Yeah.
Um, and so it was minor. It was it felt it's yeah, this makes me want to research music more, because I'm hearing in my head. It's when you press the notes on the piano and it's the off note where you're just like, ooh. And you felt that listening to those notes from the ring on the tree. And I just got something within me. I was connecting it, and it makes sense. So we're talking about, we were hearing those sounds from the tree ring, right? And the
Yeah.
electrodes that they put on the plants. Well, the other one I was getting, because I was thinking you were talking about the mother and the earth and wondering this. And I always receive the earth, the mother, as multiple dimensions, kind of like stacked in each other, like Matryoshka dolls, or layered over. That's the way I always receive it. All these dimensions, all of them, so many, unseen. And I was thinking to myself of a place that had received like war or violence, and I was
Hmm.
thinking to myself that energy would be in the soil. And I wonder what if we could hear the soil. We could hear the soil. That was my thoughts, that, electrodes to the soil, or, you know, when they're doing those experiments on the plate, and that we were talking about in the beginning, when they put the sand on the plate and they're exposing it to those frequencies, and you see it in the beginning and they're really lower frequencies, and the sand's kind of it's moving around a little bit, it's making neat shapes, but there's nothing like really breathtaking, and then they start putting it, exposing it to those higher frequencies, and they make this incredible geometric shapes. And so I was thinking to myself, would it make a difference if they took that kind of dirt and put it on the plate? I mean, the music itself would transform that energy, right?
Yeah, yeah. You know what was just coming to me though, right? Is you were talking about from a place that had some trauma, maybe
Yeah.
the war, right? I wonder if that could be our key to the future of finding out exactly what it was like to be in real time there. You know what I mean? You're hearing, we might be able to hear the sights and the well, maybe even see them one day, but the sights and the sounds of what it was like during that time frame.
And
It,
the
that,
smells I'm getting as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
That's
other thing
fast.
I was reminded of just now with Emoto in his book and his hypothesis, and what he proved through the microscope, is his thing was about our ability to transform the structure of water and therefore change water from polluted to clean. And it would be
Hmm.
about prayer, praying to the water, um, sending love to the water. And my thoughts are, well, if that would happen with water and it's been proven under the microscope, then how is that any different than if we did that with soil, or we did that with anything, right? I mean, to me, that's the next step that's coming, or maybe it's being proven right now, is if they've already proven it, it's in the microscope, they've seen the change, the physical structural change that science can prove now, that it changed the structure because of what the energy that he put into this water, this with a negative energy, and it made these crystals disfigured and ugly, and then he had this other, and he loved it, and he sent this loving energy into it, and it made these crystals beautiful. And he did it with water. To me, why couldn't we do that with dirt? Why couldn't we do that with trees? Why couldn't we do that with anything? It to me, that's the step that's coming, like right now, or the next step,
Hmm.
that
It
connection.
Yeah, it seems like the more we go down the road and the more that we're able to manipulate and stimulate with this stuff, the more that it'll be able to tell us a tale and tell us a story of what went on and what happened.
Yeah.
It might be able to put together a picture, like slowly graph together a picture for us of what we, are trying to find out about a particular time, a particular era, what was going on as it happened. It sounds to me a lot like sacred geometry, actually. I don't
Well, okay,
know.
so when they're doing because they're all connected, right? So when they're doing that experiment on the plate, on the metal plate, and they're vibrating the sand, when the sand is exposed to higher frequencies like 528, 432, 1111, the structures formed, the higher the frequency, become more and more intricate sacred geometry. Um, and sacred geometry is basically, it's divine alignment, right? And the
Mhm.
other thing, and I mentioned this in another podcast, I need to find this flipping quote, but it's basically, as to me, I would say, an open heart views sacred geometry, then your consciousness is put you're going through those curves and those in and out, because in reality, sacred geometry, as I'm receiving it right now, it's not flat. It's
Mm-mm.
three-dimensional, right?
Very,
It's
very.
it's three-dimensional. So you're like going into this world, this timeline, this pivot, and it's profound. And then I'm being reminded right now, it's the building blocks of creation, right? I mean, you got light and sound, but and then that moves into sacred geometry. And it's kind of neat because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, so we've made that connection now with the cymatics, and we're in the, I mean, which exists, right? It wasn't even a word in our lexicon, 20, 30, 40 years ago. When did you say it came into being? Was it
In
1960s?
sometime in the mid '60s. So I mean, it hasn't even been. I mean, it was 60 years. I mean, it hasn't even been over a half century, if that. And that's when it first came
Yeah,
out. I think.
it it's not,
Yeah.
it's like, but to me, the way it's coming through to the masses slowly is like these frequencies, because like sound healing is valid. I mean, it's always been valid, but it's
Sure.
now, you know, I knew a nurse. I think she was a nurse years ago, and she was in the hospital, and she decided she wanted to experiment with sound healing. She just wanted to try it. She just had this itch within her soul.
Mhm.
Um, and she's alive. I love you. And yeah, so she started learning how to do it, and she and it's San Antonio here, and then she presented it to the team of nurses, and then they felt the energetic shift within themselves from the sound she was playing, like with the crystal bowls, but it was also with the what do you call those things, the bowl, Tibetan bowls, the
Tibetan Bowl, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And they actually, so it was like firsthand experience, and they felt the shift. And then she was able to start doing sound healing in that hospital. And I know she's branched off since then. I think she's a professional sound healer now, and I know others that do the same thing. But it's like, it's people are seeing those effects. It's no longer this thing where people are like, really? Sound? Huh?
Yeah.
Consciousness has shifted enough, so it's like sound. Wow, because they're spirit, they're feeling it, and it's permeating into the blockages, is what I'm hearing within me. Um, yeah, and it's very, very powerful. That's why we're doing this podcast, because people need to understand how powerful cymatics is, and all the ways that it serve you. Um, I, as a tool for me, pretty much almost every day, I listen to one of those solfeggio frequencies I mentioned, or I'll look for, and if it's not a solfeggio frequency, then it'll be a Tibetan bowl, or it might be a water flowing, or a woman like toning. Each one, it's like the body calls for certain things, and as you do more and more of your inner work, you can tune into what is that. It's like, what is that sound that the body needs to be put into the right alignment? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just wondering, I wonder what the American Medical Association's official stance is on sound healing right now. I mean, I know, of course, that it's a lot more acceptable now, and I know that alternative holistic providers are using it, and you will hear some doctors even recommend it for things like tinnitus. And there's machines you can buy to help with tinnitus, sound healing. I'm wonder what. I'd be curious to find out what their official stance is. You know,
Yeah,
so,
I don't
not
know.
that they're the big litmus test, not that they're the big litmus test or anything. I'm
I think
curious.
I think most people these days would say, yeah, they're not. Um, but I respect that, and people need to research and for themselves and
Absolutely.
feel it. But I really feel in my gut that pretty much the masses, even though they may not know what the solfeggio frequencies are at this point, if they've been on Instagram, they've heard them. They're out there,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
they're
Hmm.
just they're being used for, you know. And then the other thing I'm getting within me is yeah, they're in the background. It's those sounds you're hearing that are just so pleasing. You know, go research them. Go look at what's that audio clip. What is that? What is that that's making you feel that way? You know, maybe it's somebody's voice, maybe it's a particular song, but there's a point where there's sounds. Wow, what is that? What is that that makes me feel that way? I feel so much peace from that. Wow, go research that. Go look that up. There's a reason why you're feeling balanced from that, so that you can continue to give yourself that medicine every day, every time you need it. Um,
You know, I had a channeling the other night with the Arcturians, and they were talking about the different sounds of the different colors, right? It, and I was just reading where pink and white and brown noise, of course, are therapies recommended for tinnitus, right? And they're down at the lower end of the wavelength of on the what's called the electromagnetic spectrum, right? And so on the lower end, the frequencies, the bandwidth's much wider, so it's more of a subtle. It's more subtle of a frequency. The lower you are, now the higher you are, the smaller the bandwidth is, but the more bang it is, the more bang you're getting for that kind of a sound.
okay, okay. I remember, you know, and I suggest this for anybody. If you know you're researching something, you know, explore to your heart's
Yeah,
content. I mean, to me, that's part of that's fun. That's letting the child out and let them explore. So I've
right.
explored those. I've explored pink noise and brown noise, and now they've got so many creative ones out there, like, you know, peppermint ball noise
Oh,
and marble noise, and really they've got so many out there that are like, wow, somebody is really having fun with this. They really like that sound. And then the other thing I'm being reminded of is there's a lot of at night, there's a lot of healers now on YouTube, but I know there's other platforms that they offer ASMR. They, you know,
I
which is
love
the
ASMR. Yo,
it's
gosh, yeah, I love it. If you, it
oh,
depends if
it's
it's the right one.
amazing.
Oh, wow, yeah,
Yeah,
it,
it's like,
yeah,
you know, I'm receiving within me. It depends on the sensitivity of the soul, but it's like if you're sensitive, or maybe to me, I'm also feeling if I need to tune into this stuff, and you're listening to something with ASMR, it's like it's like, what is that
it,
movement? It's like movement in the sound, and it
yeah,
and the way I always see it with enemy is it's like, you know, we have all these antenna on our body that just go out in all directions, and when these
they're receptors.
the receptors, when these noises are made, or these, you know, and they're not unpleasing, not all of them, and but they kind of tweak you. It's like somebody just barely touches an antenna, and you're just like, and for some people they react differently. Some people it's
Hmm.
like really intriguing, and it's really pleasing, and it's you know, it helps
It
you like
depends on,
rest. You know, other people it
yeah,
agitates them. You got to find out the one that works for you.
you do, and you really do because it can be. To me, I found that it has to be right on.
Yeah,
It's either hit or miss, but when it hits for me, it really hits for me. But if it doesn't, it's just kind of either, it's kind of annoying or it just it's bothersome, really.
yeah, chalk on a chalkboard. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
irritating. Yeah,
right.
but it's really cool
Um,
because, you know, a lot of those healers, they're getting really creative with
yep.
what makes that sound, and
Deck
you
of
know,
cards, anything, scratching
a,
on the phone, of a microphone, a
a
brush.
comb, a
Yeah,
brush,
everything
a
you can
comb on
imagine.
the, yeah, and it's amazing how much there it is, calms down your nervous system. It's amazing how
Yeah,
much that, you know, with the right sound, and which is the right frequency,
or
that
flares it.
it calms it down, or it flares it. Yeah, it'll do one or the other. But
Yeah,
the the experiment of it is so significant to find a one, because when you find a one that is like calming you down, you're just like, you just like turn to butter, you know, and it's worth that to bring yourself peace. Um,
It's
yeah,
another form of language to me too. It's another form of a light language. It's real subtle, quiet talking. Like, sometimes I picked up before. I've been in cars without the radio on or anything, or the car key in the ignition. Sounds like I'm hearing like a little quiet the conversation going on. It doesn't sound bad or evil. I just can't pick up what they're saying. It's like it's too low, but you're hearing that. It's kind of relaxing and
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you reminded me of that YouTube channel that I'm not gonna say, but I told you about it. So I mean, most of the ones I found are awesome. Some are phenomenal. But
Right.
there's just one that I told you
Uh-huh.
about that they have like, so they have the frequency, and then they have like the music, and then in the background, because you're opening up to this thing, so your discernment is vital when it comes
Right.
to anything, but it has
Yeah.
to be what feels right. And discernment is not an action of the mind, it's an action of the heart. It's an action of a person that has, they're either doing it or they've done, maybe the word is they've done a lot of inner work. They've addressed their negative thought system, negative thought patterns, negative belief systems. They're looking at directly at those things in their life that are triggering them. They need to be addressed. We all have that, and we all kind of move in waves, a place where we're ready to address that and other places when we're not. But
Right.
it's like, you know, you become more and more sensitive to this stuff. And so,
Mhm.
at this particular one, like I told you, uh, yeah, you're hearing voices in the background, and it's just the energy to me. I feel it. I'm like, I with all things, intent, which is energy, is clear. Intent is
Mhm.
is like is like a yes. It's like a solid and loving and supportive energy. And if it's not clear intent, then it's veiled intent. And veiled intent of any kind is ill intent, is negative intent, until it's
Mhm.
clear to you. And so with this channel in particular, I kind of like, part of me is curious about it, because I'm like, what are they saying in the background? But I feel it, like my body reacts to it, and I'm like, I don't know about it. They
Mhm.
they're something, yeah. But then the other thing I was guided to was, there's a couple of new people on YouTube that they're doing the frequency and the healing with crystals.
Mhm.
And that you could see the image of the crystal, and they've got the frequency out there, and for me, for some reason, it's really healing when you are connecting with the right crystal, because the image of the crystal and the colors are like spot on. And then they've got the frequency connected with it, and it like reaches this whole other level. And I
Right.
know it's not a lot of people this would resonate with, but for the ones it does, those are very powerful. Those videos are kind of amazing that connection has been made. Um, yeah, Larry.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. I was sitting here thinking, yeah, you're gonna have to tell me about that one after. Yeah, the the other one I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And when something like that really resonates with you, it really really resonates with you, and it's something that you want to kind of write it. That's kind of your go-to thing, right? And I always find myself looking for something else that's just like it. You know what I mean? And it's not easy to come by a lot of times to find something that resonates with you like that, where all
right.
facets of it, especially if it's a multidimensional thing to where, they've got various sounds going off, overlapped with other sounds, maybe color schemes going on with it, overlapped with
Yeah,
other color schemes. And so there's a lot there to take in, and it's really hard to completely resonate totally with something like that when somebody else has designed that for their own healing. But if it works for them, I would encourage them. I would not discourage anybody from putting it out there. because as long as their intent is good with it and they're not trying to, I don't know, use mind control or run some kind of an experiment. If it's Larry just fucking with somebody, then that we'll forgive that, because that's something I would do. But there wouldn't be any ill will there. It would just be to see if I can't get somebody's goat up a little bit. But yeah, yeah, my luck, they'd probably like it and go, "Oh, that's the greatest thing ever," But if I was trying, yeah, it wouldn't be too good. I've thought about myself doing my own brand of ASMR. I just don't have the voice for it. But if I did, I would. You know what I mean? Some people really have a soothing, touching voice, and then they also have a knack with that craft. And a lot of the younger people I've found are really creative with it.
Yeah.
The ones that really resonated with and liked, they're young. I mean, I don't know how young, but in their 20s, early 20s, maybe mid 20s at the most. I've seen a few older people that are good at it. And, one guy's in his 40s. He's really good. I can't think of his name right now, but he is really popular in the ASMR field. And oh, I don't know. He's a real tall guy. He wears an over. He's kind of goofy. He does little skits, even ASMR skits. And now it's going to drive me nuts, but I can't think of his name. But I've listened to him quite a bit. Um, and I just started noticing it probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, ASMR. I really didn't. I'm sure it's
Mhm.
been around forever and a day, but that's when I first started it coming into my, you know,
It's
perception.
because I have like about 15 years experience with special needs, especially like autistic individuals,
Mhm.
and it's been in that community for a while. And even if they hadn't labeled it ASMR at the time, it's like that effect on many individuals, their sensitivity level, it's now moved into mainstream, but it's there. They're the ones that brought it forward, is what I'll say. And their sensitivity, which can be awesome because it can be calming, just like for you and I, or it can be a major trigger. So it just
Mhm.
depends. The other thing I'm going to say, because as we're talking about these different YouTubers, in the ASMR they use, my favorite ones are ones that use it with Reiki. And my thoughts within myself are Reiki is pretty common. Most people, they know what energy medicine is, even if they don't, even if they haven't experienced it or they don't recognize it. They've heard of Reiki or they've heard of energy medicine at this point. And
Sure.
so, those videos where the person is doing Reiki and they're like, maybe they're using the crystal or they're doing Reiki and they've got the frequencies going with that, are it's like it's a massive healing tool. And it popped in my
Mhm.
head a minute ago to bring this down to its practical use. And so the practical use of this is, you're having a rough day, you have a 15-minute break, consider plugging into a solfeggio frequency, or some kind of pleasing frequency. You can listen to music if you want, if it calms you down. But my thoughts are, explore sounds, explore frequencies that tweak your interest. And my nubbas, my cat's right there.
Yeah,
That you're curious about. And let yourself. Uh, and I'm not saying certain songs they don't do it to you. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. But my thoughts within me are, go beyond those. Go beyond those songs if you're ready to go into the frequency itself, which basically goes more into the core, which will have a more profound effect generally, because again, it's a subjective experience. But um again, I'm being pointed to the Emoto experiment, where they have proven under a microscope how much how much your intent, how much when you put this energy, love, whatever, hate, into something, how much it changes the physical structure. And so when
yeah,
you're listening to these frequencies, these they're called the lost solfeggio frequencies. These are frequencies that they align the body, the energy. Look them up. Solfeggio. Look them up. There's again like seven maybe. Um, they're profound. They're like this, and I've been telling Larry from before this podcast, they're like a secret weapon. 432, 528, 417. I know this isn't a comprehensive list. 111, 1111. There's so many others. 369. Yeah, there's more, but there's like a core group, and then you can explore other ones. I've explored just listening to pure frequency, but I'm going to tell you, if you listen to pure frequency, you have to be at a place within yourself where you're ready to deal with that. I'll just say it that way. You have to have started that inner work, because your crap is going to be put in your face in a pure frequency, and it'll irritate the crap out of you
No
unless you're
doubt.
ready
Yeah.
to surrender to it. I do that with myself sometimes, where I want to go straight into it, and I'll listen to the frequency, pure frequency. But most people, it would irritate them, and so I would say for many, I go on YouTube, go research the one that you need. You can even go on like Google and look at a list of 417 addressing this, 528 this, 432 this, and because this is all about self-healing. This is about healing yourself, and healing to me is an event that happens internally within us, and then it's expressed. Yes, my bubbas. It's expressed externally. A person, a frequency, a sunset, any of these could be triggers to healing within self. My Bubba's was getting all agitated, my cat.
Yeah, the frequency, Bubba's. Yeah, it is.
She's
Yeah,
right
so
here.
all these things that they can help with every one of the frequencies that you mentioned, it sounds to me like it, depending on what frequency you're at, different frequencies, like one might, it can do, it sounds like all of them can help with just about everything with certain people, right? So they have they have a 417 for maybe headache, one for like emotional trauma, one for, I don't know, abundance manifestation. Yeah, and the same thing when you go up into the, you start getting up into the 500s and even up into the, higher end of
Yeah,
700,
yeah.
ones like that. Yeah,
You see
yeah,
my Bubba?
yeah, I
Um,
did. Yeah, well, he was trying to steal the show, isn't she? No, yeah,
yeah. I don't know what she's. Yeah, she's sniffing something over there. So, yeah, they're just the thing. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling within me. You wake up and you need some energy, and you remember that thing I told you. Did I tell you that thing I was listening to yesterday morning? I think it was yesterday morning. I posted it on my Facebook page. So, yeah, we talked about it. Remember the bells? We talked about the bells.
yeah. You're right. I was thinking about you earlier this morning when I got up Carolyn and bells. Yeah, I was thinking about the
The
bells.
bells. So,
Yeah,
so, so in World War II, but in World War II, they systematically, what is it, in Europe? I think that was Europe. They took down all the bells.
yeah,
There were
yeah.
there were no bells. There were no bells,
Right. That
and
was, I
people are
believe,
like,
so they would alarm it was to not alarm the Nazis, I think.
it's
That's
like,
what I'm,
yeah, and
yeah.
most people are, okay, it's not to alarm what, yeah, da, 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 da. But it's like most people didn't realize how significant that was when they took down the bells. Bells are they are frequency. They put out this frequency, and
Yeah, that's all they are. Yeah.
and it was like, okay, so I'm going to say this because listening to, I just wanted to, so I was listening to pure bells for like 2 hours.
Boy, how exciting can you get?
You don't need coffee if you're
Right,
listening to bells,
you
and your
told me that,
body
and I'm like,
wants to move,
okay.
right? It's an energy that like moves through your body, and it's like an awakening frequency is what I'm hearing within me. You want to move, you want to do things. It's like this. it's a burst of energy, and I kept feeling it was a way of like it's like an energetic thank you, an energetic I'm grateful. It's so strong. And so when they took down those bells, bells have existed for like eons, and bells
Mhm.
to me, what I receive is it's the bell plays, and it's an energy, and it's a sound that your being knows, from other lifetimes, from other layers of you, because they are all over this earth, and they
It seems like
transcend
it's
time.
triggering. Yeah, it triggers something in you, and it gets you to start thinking. And I mean, even if you're not consciously aware, now that I think back on it, hearing things like that, it just makes me kind of stop. And there's a vibration that I can hone into, like I'm getting visions of something in the past of another lifetime, maybe, or that I'm kind of reluctant to receiving, or maybe in the past I've been reluctant to receiving. But yeah, it's a gateway. It's really a gateway
It
into
is a gateway,
the
and that's
realms
thing
of past
people don't
reality.
understand that. Yeah, because the
Yeah,
brain is like, oh, it's just a bell, but your
yep,
heart, you hear it, and your body
yeah.
is like, especially if you're hearing it like repeatedly. One time you're kind of like, oh, several times you're like, when you hear it like repeatedly, it begins to like it permeates through like all of you, and then like I started pulling up images within me of times of other expressions of me, other layers of me, other times when I was like, oh yeah, that was the bell. I kept getting Tibetan bell, and it just kept pulling these things up. And
You're
so when they took them,
subconsciously hearing them. Yeah, they were subconsciously used to hearing them, and when they took
it
them away,
so
yeah,
strong. When they took those away, it was actually, I don't know, some people were going to say because of the Germans or whatever, but to me it was a form
yeah,
of suppression. And it was a
but
way to isolate people, is what I'm getting as well, because the bell also brings people together. You hear the bell, there's, it's about church, it's about something to be alerted about, it's about, and it's this
it's a way to
familiar
keep
and
them under control. Yeah,
familial,
keep them under
and I'm getting
control.
I'm getting familiar and familiar, like family sound is what I'm getting within me as well. I can't say that word. um
Yeah, it was a way to keep everybody under control during a wartime, and they probably sold it like this. They probably sold it to the masses that if we have them clanking, the Nazis are going to be able to detect that from some kind of a sophisticated radar that they have. Right, they're going to be able
right.
to detect, the targets a little bit easier. So, make sure we're not going to have any bells. We're not going to leave any chances on we're not going to leave any chances out there. So, and plus, it's a way for them to make sure that they can kind of everything has a dual purpose, usually two or three different purposes for it, right? And sometimes it's both for the right reason and the wrong reason. So,
Yeah, I'm getting something within me. I'm trying to figure out what I'm being given, but it's something about sound, like the topic that we're talking about right now.
yeah.
Sound has this, it's a cohesive energy is what I'm getting, and it also somehow within me, I'm getting it, it's connected to community, depending on the
Hmm.
sound. If it's like a harmonious sound, I'm getting it connected directly to community. um and then so when they took away the bells, it's kind of like what
They
I'm getting,
secluded it. They
they secluded
secluded people
people,
by doing that. Yeah.
they broke up community is what I'm hearing within me.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'm getting is, it's the external community, but it's also the community within self. And it's like this. Yeah, it is. Those bell sounds are, they permeate through us, through all layers of us. They're one of those sounds. There's other sounds, waterfalls, that permeates as well. But when they did that with the bells, yeah, that effect was more profound than people realized.
Well, yeah, no, it can be an irritant too. You were mentioning how who needs coffee when you're talking about your bells yesterday and having them get up and make you want to get right. I'll tell you
Okay,
what does
so
me
I
is
just
if I,
qualify
if
this.
I
They were
yeah.
church bells, Larry. Those were church
Oh,
bells
okay.
that I was listening
Well, I was
to.
gonna say, I'll tell you what would get up and make me want to move is when I hear if I'm trying to get a good night's sleep and I'm somewhere where there's wind chimes clanking endlessly outside of the window I'm at. I want to get up and pop a cap in one of the wind chimes. You know what I mean? If I'm trying to get a goddamn good night's sleep and clank, clank, clank all night, give me some wooden ones that night. You know, what I mean, I know, you know what I mean. So it can be an irritant too. You know, maybe I'm just being a
Yes.
sour, but yeah, I
No,
did
I
right
can see
outside the
that.
window in a windstorm.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you don't have any, do you? Let me guess. You got. I bet Carolyn's got a whole bunch around her house.
Oh, I would love. I would love the. I don't know. No. You would think I
They're
would, but
neat to hear in the evening. They're neat to hear outside. My grandparents used to have them outside on their porch, and they were cool at night. But I just didn't like hearing them and laying in bed at night. I couldn't get any sleep, and if I couldn't already sleep, and I'd hear them clanking and clanking back and forth. It was a little irritating. But I want to go back on something on this AMSR real quick here.
yeah,
There's a feeling I used to get, and it was when like either one of my aunts or it would be like my grandmother or a friend of my grandmother's. I felt so soothed. They would like kind of just lightly touch my arm and speak to me really softly.
yeah.
And it was kind of like it made me feel just kind of really at home. And I haven't had that feeling until I got into about my early 20s. An older lady used to work where I worked, and she was always so friendly and asked how I was doing. And she was really always, like touched on the arm, and you get little goosebumps, right? And they just speak to you
Right.
really softly, right? And then it's funny because then when I got into painkillers real bad for a while, I wasn't able to ever capture that feeling again, that same feeling again. It's like it
Wow.
destroyed in my endorphins. And I talked to a doctor about that even. He said, yeah, that's probably what ended up happening is because of that, you won't be able to feel that natural little feeling like that anymore. Just
Yeah.
quite bad. But it was really neat. I'd always have them do that. And I would just, I loved it. And then after they were done talking to me, I'd try to simulate it to myself and touch my arms gently and, kind of talk to myself real quietly to try to put myself in that relaxed state like that. But I was remembering back on that when I was seeing, we were talking about ASMR a little bit. I was thinking
Yeah.
about that was kind of a real light, kind of a language, just kind of a light, soothing, you
The
know.
light. Yeah. No, I'm remembering my mom. When I was a kid, and I'm pretty sure she did this with my siblings, but I just, you're laying in her lap and she's combing her hand through your hair
Yeah,
and maybe saying some things. It was just a gentle, barely,
yeah,
barely. Yeah, it wasn't an intense touch. It was a very gentle touch, and I'm remembering that right now, which is definitely you could connect that with ASMR very, very much. For
and the
sure.
yin of that too, because on the yin of that, you get somebody you're in that position with somebody when you're younger who's a little bit rough, or they're kind of rough around the edges and messing with your hair. You're like, don't fuck with my hair, man. You know what I mean? Or don't. I get him. I hurt my grandfather's feelings a couple. I'm like, quit fucking with my hair, grandpa. Like that. I'd said it like that to him. Quit
Yeah,
fucking with
because
my hair.
it's like
Yeah,
antenna, right? So
yeah.
yeah, for sure, I could see that. Has to be the right person.
If it's the right person, it feels great. If it's not, man, god damn, I feel like I'm being violated.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, yeah. No,
Especially when
yes.
you're a kid, when you're a
Yeah,
kid like
yeah.
that, God, man.
It
And it's not
would
that they
be a
even mean to.
violation for
Yeah.
sure. I'm sitting here and I'm asking about the sound, and what I'm getting within me is that we're still in the beginning exploration of this. We really, as a collective, haven't really explored diddly with it, and it's the reason why you and I, like, right here an hour in, and we're like, we've talked a lot about it, and frankly, I'm getting we've just like you're talking about with the was it Arcturians that you channeled or something? Um,
Mhm. About the
yeah, I mean,
electromagnetic spectrum, and I didn't know a terahertz from a car rental place called Hertz. And I mean, I even went to go check and see if some of this shit coming through me from them was right afterward. And I'm like, because there's no way I could have known. It doesn't usually work that way where they're giving you, citing shit like that specifically, but they were, and I looked it up and it was right. So, either I studied that in a former lifetime and just now remembering it, or, they were really giving it to me straight how it was with the nanohertz and the terahertz and the band, the colors on the opposite end of the band, the violet's
yeah,
at
we
the
were talking
highest
about the
end.
pink noise and brown noise, and then I was telling you on YouTube, there I've explored a lot of them. A lot of people are exploring other noises,
Yep.
black noise, brown noise.
Mixing them together.
I think there's blue noise. I mean, and then people like the gumball, but then there's others. They're just, it's the pleasing sounds and the frequency that how they affect the body. And again, it's like the next step from the Emoto experiment with the water is they're
Uh-huh.
experimenting with this, right? And it's even, and I'm getting two things within me. One is, for 5 years, I had my own business working with private families, with autistic and disabled individuals. And my
Mhm.
second to last family, or was it my last family? Um, can't remember. The autistic individual that I was taking care of, they loved to watch. It was the last family. She loved to watch the videos, and this is ASMR as well. Like of a car rolling over a cake, and hearing the sound of that and seeing the visual of that, or of
Mhm.
like something that would make a big mess, frankly, or not, like maybe a big container with small balloons full of water and the car rolling over that and the, and or the just, I mean, anything you can think of, and the car rolling over it and the sounds that were made from that. And just I think it made her happy because it was like the movement of it, but it was also it's like curiosity, any one of us would be like, well, you're going to roll over that, it's going to do this. But the fact is, when you're looking at it done, you're kind of like, you're hearing the noise of it and you're kind of curious, what is that going to sound like? And for some of them, you're like, whoa, that was kind of neat. You
Well,
don't look at the image on the screen, but
yeah, I have a son that's autistic, and actually, so am I. I have tested positive for being on the high end of it. Through God, that I had to go through a lot of testing to get that
Mhm.
diagnosed. But he's really. It makes sense because they're almost like futuristic in the way they perceive things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're watching it, and like I'm just going to say this to be quite blunt, the person that has not explored beyond their current setting, and they are,
Mhm.
I'm getting to be blunt, they're still living in the box. They're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
they're not pushing against, they're assuming things are the way they are. At this point, I think every soul on earth knows things are not the way they appear. And the conditions happening now are intended to agitate people to make changes within themselves. And
yeah.
it's like, yeah, you see them watch these videos. The average person who hasn't done this work, they're going to watch those videos and be like, flip. Why would I want to flip? But it's like,
Yeah.
when you have to watch them, like my client's watching it, I'm watching the client, so I got to watch the videos. But it was neat because it's, in some weird way, and this is just me, I'm going to say you take a whole birthday cake and you put it underneath the wheel of a tire and you roll the tire, the car over it, and it's a smash cake, and it's making all these colors and these patterns on the concrete, and it's kind of pleasing in a weird way. I'm just going to say that. But there were so many other things that the truck would roll over. Other ways they've done it too, because they've got colors, moving colors around, and then experimenting with how those colors would look. And it sounds like a child, but it's actually very advanced, because that they're already anticipating what's coming. And I think I lost Larry. Hope he'll be back in a minute. But we're talking about cymatics, and it's sound made visible. You there?
Oh yeah, yeah. My battery was dying on my phone, so I had to swap it out. It's cool. We're good. We're good. I'm back.
Okay.
I entertained the crowd on the rest of the platform, so I heard it
So
both.
I was just saying that, finishing up the car rolling over, and yes, and when you're talking about futuristic, to me, I always felt like my client, they were looking at it and they were anticipating what's going to happen next, right? It's going to be squashed,
Right.
but they were finding this peace and they were enjoyment in these, probably messes that they could just watch and not have to be part of it. It wasn't going to touch them or anything, but it was also really creative in a different way, to have
Yeah.
the car roll over these really, what could the car roll over and what would that be like? And then you're kind of like, well, that's going to be interesting. Well, that will really be interesting. Wow, how many colors are in that? Well, that's really going to be an interesting on the concrete. And you look at it, most people will be like, well, what the fuck? But the fact is, just like we were talking about in the last podcast, you got to let your creativity and imagination get in there because it makes everything, you can take everything and you can shift everything into something that you will enjoy, or appreciate, frankly. Yeah. And then what was the other thing I was getting? Shoot. The sound. Yeah. The main thing I was getting is that we've barely scratched the surface. There's so many more layers to this. And I know that the generation we're in right now is going to, this field of cymatics is going to explode. It's going to explode. I mean, we only did the Emoto experiment. That was 2004 when he put the book out, right? So that's 20 years. Cymatics itself, just like you were saying, has only existed just a little over 50 years now. And so it's still very new. Like sound healing is only coming into its, where people are kind of paying attention to it more. Some haven't figured out its relevance, but there's so many more choices. Yeah, and it's a tool. It's a healing tool. And in the energy and everything that's happening now, every single healing tool that you have access to that is easy for you, right for you, do it, access it, use it, explore it. Because when you explore that tool, you're basically exploring other levels of you, because you're going to be different in that place of the piece. It's going to open you up to more levels of you, and
That you
it'll
don't
move
even know
you
existed.
out
One
of the
thing will
box.
spawn one thing, and it'll spawn another thing, and it'll spawn another thing. You know what I mean? It'll open you up to something you weren't even intending to do, and then
Moves you out of the
that'll
box.
be trickle
Yeah,
effect.
very much, very much. And I'm just gonna say, excuse me, my throat hurts. So my mission is as a reawakener of the conversation of the heart, which for my being is the conversation between the sacred mind, the sacred heart, the body vehicle, the voice of the soul. And what I always receive is that the divine sequence is what I'm hearing within me, is that the sacred heart leads the sacred mind. It really isn't the sacred mind leading, because the sacred heart has always been there in the background, but we haven't known it because we've been in a more boxed consciousness where we've only given validity to the mind.
We couldn't
And the
see
mind,
things we couldn't see. Yeah, we couldn't see things we couldn't see, just like elemental
we couldn't
kingdoms or
see it.
whatever. We couldn't see
We
them.
couldn't,
Right?
we couldn't see
Dragons.
the
Yeah.
forest for
Yeah.
the trees, right? And
Yeah.
then the
Nope.
other thing I'm going to mention is that, like the sacred mind is the divine masculine, the sacred heart is the divine feminine. And so the age that we're in now is moving back in divine balance of the two, not just divine, not just masculine, but when you move from the just seeing the masculine as it to allowing both to communicate, then you move into the higher expression of it, which is the divine masculine, divine feminine. And just like this conversation we're having right now, Cymatics, where it's revealing these subtle layers, because sound, I mean, everything vibrates. Everything. We vibrate.
Yep.
The flower out there that looks still is vibrating. And so when we're talking about cymatics and sound, we're getting into the core of everything now. And it's really, really, really cool. And the more that the individual does that inner work to, whether it's professionally or just a personal journey within themselves, to address those blockages with themselves so that they can be more free and sovereign in their own life, the more that they will greatly receive the effects of these frequencies that we're talking about. And these frequencies can support them significantly on these journeys. And it doesn't have to be the solfeggio frequencies. It could be a sound, a music that you like, a person singing.
Yeah, it could be Megadeth, or
Could be
something
negative.
like that.
It can
Even yeah,
shift you,
right.
right? Or look,
Yeah.
or Emoto programmed
Yeah,
water.
I'd rather have that. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So you
I'm
like,
not into banging on. I'm not into banging on trash cans and yelling too loud. That's
you're not in,
each
you're
their
not
own.
into, what's that, Larry?
Oh, I said Megadeth. I said, yeah, I'd rather hear what you were doing. Yeah, I would instead of banging on a trash can. I was just, yeah, yeah. I can yell and bang on a trash can. Myself. I don't need to hear it.
You
But
program
we talk.
water. You send love
Yeah,
into it.
yeah, exactly. You talk about vibration, though, hearing certain vibrations. It's one of them things, too, where you got to be in tune with, okay, so there could be just a loud, generic sound and a boom or something. Everybody's going to hear it. But like sometimes when the earth is really at a high pitch during a high collective shift, there'll be that
Right.
vibration go on. And, for those of us who are awake and we can pick up on it and hear it, and it's the loudest sound
Yeah.
that you'll ever hear. But other people be like, no, fuck, I don't hear anything.
What
Because I
is
remember,
that? What is that? Yes. Yes.
yep, yep,
That's the Schumann.
Yep, the Schumann resonance. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And it was really bad during, the last, well, about the early part, the middle part of the last decade. It was like that a lot. And people that weren't awakened, they wouldn't hear nothing, man. And then if you were, you could hear it really, it just, yeah. But there was no sound. Like I said, I always called it the loudest sound you'll never hear.
I wonder if just me thinking if like, because many people will say we're not affected by it, but I would say that, we are energetic beings, and so
Mhm.
we are affected by many more things than we feel like we're affected by. And
Sure.
there is certainly the mindset where you can have, it's not going to affect me, and I respect that. However, the type of effect is what needs to
Yeah.
be concerned, honestly. And what I'm getting within me now is, excuse me, because I had this thought within me a minute ago. Okay, is there sound to this? And the thought within me is, there sound to the astrology, to the movement of the planets and the alignment of it, and how that alignment affects us. And then
Hmm.
I was getting, of course there is, of course
Right.
there's a sound, right? And so at one level you could say astrology is relevant, and of course this is a subjective thing, because we are affected by the sound, the shifting of the sound of those planets, of that alignment, of that
Yeah.
affects us energetically, and our own unique energetic signature that we each are.
I think in the more it's articulated too, it's like it takes it out of that realm of being some kind of an alternative, quacky type of thing that people aren't. You know what I mean? They just think it's that thing that they don't realize it. Oh, they imagine somebody just having a fairy tale and the planets are aligning and oh my God, the seventh moon is in the seventh star, the eighth constellation of wherever the fuck, right? And so that's kind of what you're hearing in past years if you're not really into that thing, right? And even the people that were into it in
Right.
past years were just kind of, most of them were probably just in it because it sounded cool, to be quite frank with you, except
Yeah.
for the very experts and the pioneers,
Yes.
right? And so I think now we're getting to a point where that stuff's being explained on a lot clearer level, like you just did to a point. It does affect us. No, it doesn't mean that the sky's going to open up and we're going to go, jump over the cow. The cow's going to go jump over the moon during, the full moon in Libra or something, next time. But it does mean that it doesn't. It does mean that we're more in tune with the way and the subtle ways that it affects, and the more we are in tune with the subtle ways that it affects things,
Yeah.
the more people know it. So actually, the more of effect it really does have on the collective, right? Because more people are aware of it, so they're conscious to it, right? In a conscious state. Of course, they always were affected by it, even when they weren't aware of it. But um, and it's something that's there. People are starting to explain it and articulate it to where okay, that makes sense. Even to somebody who may not believe it, they'll listen to that and go, okay, that I could see where that sounds a lot more
Right.
logical than somebody throwing their arms up in the air and getting into semantics and the seventh moon and the 12th hour, the 13th second of the 55th day, the moon being in whatever it is.
Yep.
It's more mainstream. It's becoming more mainstream. And I'm not knocking our the pioneers in our community that were like that. They just didn't know. And so it was a different time. Everybody has to lay the groundwork for the next generation, right? That comes above them. So I mean, it just seems to me like it's slowly moving into where this is just it's humanity. If humanity still exists in the future, right? This is just the way people are going to be. They're going to be more understanding and more in tune with these different frequencies and the multidimensional
Compassionate.
aspects of ourselves. Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot
good.
of things I'm getting right now as you're talking. I was reminded of a quote. I don't know whose quote it is, but I was like, yeah, which is it's about, well, the quote is basically something like the presence of disease reveals the body is out of tune. I mean, disease itself, it's hearing ill vibrations. I mean, it's where the body is not sounding
Yeah,
aligned, right? And so
right.
that's one of those things that's coming up. It's definitely coming up because they've already started to open to other things in hospitals, and so this is coming. This is definitely coming, where maybe they'll have a frequency formula, and I'm being reminded, just like there are frequencies that bring you in tune, there are frequencies that take you out of tune. And now I'm getting something about programming, TV shows, news,
Yep.
those sounds, certain sounds, which is a frequency that goes out there.
Mhm.
And
The news could be relayed through a light code, through a sound, and things like that. I remember on one of the couple occasions ever I had a chance to talk to David Icke. We were talking about. He was telling me about. I don't know how we got on the topic, but he was telling me about burn victims, them having them watch like icy glaciers, visuals of like people that have been burn victims watch videos of icy cool glaciers and things of that nature. Really cool, calming, snowy scenery, kind of cool
yeah, that
down on.
would work.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
how he put.
you're
Yeah,
not
he's kind of weird, but
agitating. You're not agitating the body or the nervous system. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, it would it would probably be better to watch than the Towering Inferno or some shit from the '70s, that movie or whatever. I'm sure, but because it's a mental thing. But I could see how that would every little bit helps. That on top of a sound, right? So a visual like that on top of a calming sound you're listening to, on top of all these things can all these things can work together in cohesion to help alleviate, here and there, a little bit of pain medicine, a little bit of visuals, a
Right.
little bit of sound, right? Mix it all together. You don't just have to be like a Nazi for one way or the other. It's either Western medicine or it's either Eastern
Together.
medicine.
Yeah,
All this
it's your
shit
own,
can mix, right? Yeah.
it's your own personal recipe. And
Mhm.
I would strongly suggest that every single every body needs the right sounds. They need the right frequency of sounds,
Yeah.
that
Well, yeah,
combination,
absolutely.
to help them heal. And healing to me is peace and balance in the body. It's a grounding. It's basically healing to me is when that's grounded in the body and it's your normal natural state to be, at peace. Even if something agitates you, it agitates you, you address it, then you come right back into peace or stillness. And yeah, it's I could see it. I could see it in the future, and I don't think it's that far away where people are going to have, maybe there's going to be a sound. I'm sure it exists already, right? A sound therapist, a something like that, where
Yeah, a whole team of people. Sure, I'm sure it does. I imagine that it is offered in some places, more liberal
yeah,
thinking places. I mean, it's not going to happen in the South anywhere for a long time, but you know what I mean? I mean, really, but
you just need
yeah,
the right combination,
yeah,
right
yeah,
combination of like frequencies, or of like, yeah, I'm sure that exists. And then the other thing I was given while you were talking a minute ago was, we were talking about the sound. We were talking about, I wonder about astrology. If the planets make a sound, and then the other thought I popped in my head is, you know, you're near somebody and you're feeling something negative for them, and you don't know what it is, and the thoughts within me are, well, they're having negative thoughts, and those negative thoughts are a frequency. And so that to me says that at some level you could hear the thoughts, not necessarily the thoughts themselves, but the frequency of the thoughts. Like it's an energy that goes out from them. And so my feeling is that at some level, there's a sound. There's a sound from those thoughts, just like there's a sound made from somebody who's having really happy, positive thoughts. Maybe it's a higher hum. I don't know. That's one.
Well, you
It's kind
project them out to people. I mean, when I was a lieutenant on the police force, I would tell the guys, do not, when we're following a suspect or something, do not stare at the back of his head. Do not look at the back. You know, he's gonna pick up on those vibes if you're mad dogging him like that. Kind of follow, but turn your head. You know, don't make a lot of contact with the back of the head. You know, because people get in tune to that. If somebody's watching you,
yeah.
if you don't believe me, try it out at the supermarket sometime. Try it out at the supermarket. Stare at, you have somebody in front of you. Stare at the back of their head for a while and just face out if you're in a long line somewhere and see how long it takes before they turn around and look at you. You know what I mean? And you'll know whether they turned around to look at you because of that or if it was just because they naturally turn that way, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, try it out a few times, It's not there's what are they gonna do? Say, hey, were you thinking about me? That's why I turned around. Hey. I mean, hey, fuckers are thinking. But yeah, it's look away, follow but look away, kind of don't sit there and just mad dog them in the back of their head like that.
Yeah,
it seemed to work. I don't know. That's just some little thing that I came up with on my own, but I mean it.
I think it's huge. Yeah. I think it's huge. I mean the what do they call it in I want to say spiritual lore, but I also think it's yogic lore or something. Somewhere back here is called the mouth of God. It's an energetic portal back here.
That makes sense. That you're okay. That would be
it's
what that would be right below your throat chakra.
It's the neck or the base of the base of the head, which is still the neck.
Oh God, I know what you're talking about. I know there's a name for it. Yeah, I'm thinking about that chakra right before your throat chakra, right before your throat chakra, maybe.
Maybe, but it's back. It's back
here. Yeah,
it is. It's not here. It's
that
it's
thing.
Like right here.
That thing.
That thing.
Yeah, that thing.
That thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Why don't I hope you spend the whole day now, because I'm certainly going to, and I'm going to be too lazy to go look it up. I want you to spend the whole day wondering what the hell that is. You'll probably, if I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm going to call you and say, Carolyn, hey, guess what that was? Yeah, the top of your spine. Oh, you mean the top of your spine? Before it gets to your neck.
I'm gonna look it up. It might just be the top of your spine. Yeah, it might be. It might be because
the cerebrium or some shit. I don't know.
Anytime
God, didn't you have to take any medical classes to get your degree? Oh, you were a psychologist, not a psychiatrist. Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
No psychiatrist, no psychologist, no. Social work, but counseling, yeah, that's more my thing.
Right.
No, that the thing I keep getting is, I keep thinking to myself too, now that I'm frequency, I keep thinking of frequency, and then I think of like our what we've had other podcasts with the light codes. That's a frequency, right? It's and that the more different individuals do that work within them, the more that they pull away blockages, the more sensitive they become. And the sensitivity and truth, as you and I know, and others probably listening, it's a strength. It's a strength. It's not something that's a weakness. It's an incredible strength. And it's like other layers of reality are revealed to you the more that you pull away those blockages and you become more sensitive to frequency. Which, and I'm thinking,
which can be a pain in the ass sometimes. But which can be also, you have to ground yourself too, and you're doing that because now you're more in tune with everything.
alive.
you're living in a society then where, not every, you're lucky to ever meet anybody else in real life that's like you once you get to that kind of a level. At least, I mean, it was that way. You know what I mean? So you really, a lot of people I found that were like that in yesteryear were very secluded, very,
Yeah.
and they had to be because it would just fuck with their vibration to go out and do anywhere. Yeah. Like that cat's doing to you right now.
This is my messy, everybody see my messy debt. See, you see her? See
Yeah,
her?
look at that.
She's in there. She's not supposed to be in there. Urgh.
Oh, I do
Um,
see her. God, I was like, what the? Oh, yeah, yeah, I do. I do see her. Okay, yeah, yeah. There she is in the background. Hi,
she,
sweetie.
she's taking advantage. I
She's
can't
trying to get
pull
some
her out.
camera time out of you.
I can't get her right now. You know that what popped in my head was one of my latest my latest pics. My latest is the sun with the way the sun is appearing in the pictures I take now, and
Mm-hmm.
um and I'm sitting here thinking that the way I took that picture was walking down the street. I was just walking around the neighborhood, and I felt this energy. It was a frequency. Obviously, I felt it over my right shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
That was right, and I was just like, "Hold
That
on,
one
let
of
me
the
think."
ones. Yeah. Was that one of the
The
ones you sent me?
succulent, right? This wasn't one
Yeah.
of the pretty ones. This was one that was by the house, but it
Yeah.
was like, and I felt this, like I felt this so strong. I'm like, I don't know what's there because my eyes saw nothing. So my brain
Right.
was like, there's nothing there, but I felt it, and so I took that picture, and that's about the more that you do this work, the more sensitive you become to frequency, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's all these it's all these frequencies. There's been many that have always been on the planet is what I'm receiving, but there's more and more and more and more being poured
Oh,
onto
by
me.
far, far. Just no. I mean, dude, yeah,
The
there always
download.
has been, but a few years ago, comparatively there weren't that many. I mean, it's literally happened overnight.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
and maybe the I mean, well, I guess it really is the point of it to me that I receive is those that are still in those boxes that don't want to like look outside of those boxes. The amount of energy being poured on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
something's going to trigger them.
Oh, it's gonna
Because
have to because I mean it's to the
something's got to
point
give.
now where it's almost to the point now where you really don't have to be all that really awakened to get some of these photos, these light codes coming your way, man. I mean, they're
Yeah,
everywhere now. I mean, it's not just it's not just I don't know, it's not just somebody like you or somebody like Yvonne Ganez out there taking these fucking pictures and nobody else is getting them that or other people I've known. A lot of people are able to access these now. Right, it just takes a little bit of open-mindedness and any kind of phone to aim and shoot. I know one gal asked the other day in the page if there was any kind of special thing she had to get for her camera or anything like that or anything. I'm like, you don't even need I mean, these girls are all doing them with phones. There's no reason to even have one. And a Galaxy, if somebody could afford a Galaxy, that's better than any. Unless you're trying to get a hold of the moon or some shit. I mean, like you get a picture of on the moon. There's no
yeah.
reason to have really anything anymore. You just
It's
got to be halfway awakened and be able to
it's there.
hold the fucking camera up and shoot it.
It's there. Like it's like
Yeah, dude.
pouring on, and
Yeah.
it's undeniable. And yeah, my feeling is, and if somebody hasn't started feeling it, well, there's going to be more poured on,
Yeah.
more poured
Yeah, they're
on.
gonna be left.
So
Well, yeah, they're gonna be left holding the bag out in the rain, holding two bags out in the rain, wondering what the fuck's going on. Why everybody's clued in on it. It's
and you know,
yeah,
but the gift in this podcast is for anybody that have never heard about cymatics, or to research this yourself. Look up solfeggio frequencies. Please look those up. Those are stealth weapons. Those are tools to help you balance yourself every day, and they're free. They are free. um you know look up Dr. Emoto. Look up the water experiment that he did. Everybody has to drink water. Program your water. Program it with love. Program it with um abundance, program it with joy, program it with whatever you want to program it with. That's an aspect
Uh-huh.
of love. Uh, and that every person can do that. It's free. Program it. And then the other thing I'm being reminded of is the programming it is transforming its
Yeah.
structure. You know,
It's kind of quantum. It's the future, really, too. It ties
it
into the
is.
future of what I call learning, quantum, quantum learning, quantum education, which I'd like to give real quick a plug to a lady that does these little 60-second sound bites of these. Her name is Lynn Andrews, and she has a Instagram and a Facebook page called Visionary Art HQ. And she's also on TikTok at 12. Well, she's going to kill me, but I don't remember this. 12 Sacred Wonders, I believe is her name on TikTok, but you can find her on Instagram or Facebook. And it's really, she puts together these really cool looking multi-dimensional sacred kind of plasma, sacred geometry plasma color patterns, and they blink, and it has a word on it. It'll have a word on it, and it's got the sound. It's got a frequency tuning
What is her
down.
name? What's her name
Her
again?
name's Lynn Andrews, but her site on Instagram is Visionary thing with them.
Okay.
And in today's soundbite society like that, it's perfect if you're on the go. Like if you have one of
Yeah.
those that you can just take 1 minute, tune into, and then later on take another minute, tune into. You don't have to listen to the 7 hour one or this 11 hour one that this girl sent me for migraines. I told her I had a migraine, and I got this 11 hour thing sent to me. I'm like, all she meant well, but I'm like,
Well, I mean, her intent was loving, right? It was just,
oh, totally. Very, yeah, absolutely, it
that's a
was.
long
Yeah,
time, but yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful. Just 11 hours is a long time, but yes, that's beautiful.
Well, she didn't tell me to listen to the whole goddamn thing. You know what I mean, though. But that is the idea. That's
Beautiful.
Carolyn loves getting sent videos. By the way, of from people. But no, I'm not going to push her
I'm
buttons
tipping you
today.
off, Larry.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I know. I know. I only give you a bad time because I love it. I love it too, and it's something I've know all. I was already into like 5, 10, 20 years ago, and they want to know if I've heard of this guy, and then I say yeah, and then I get told
Yeah.
everything that I already knew about him. Why they
Yeah.
were way before they even knew there was an outer space.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but it's all good though. Yeah, yeah. But as we become a quicker society, things are like quick, flash, flash. It's like when
Yeah,
you're
it really
posting
is.
something, when you're posting pictures, I tell people the best thing to do is just do on Facebook like 5 at a time. If you have more than that, you really want people to see, do it in 2 posts because people just scroll by and they don't click. It's twofold. Part of it, half of it is because they are lazy and lame, but the other part of it too is on the to give them credit is because people's minds are moving quicker and ascending, and it
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot, right? So it's a little
That's what
bit
I
of
was
both.
thinking.
Yeah, and it's becoming more and more of that. It's that our minds are moving quicker, right? It's not
Yes.
just that there's just too much for anybody to stop at everything and take a look. So you got to be selective. But a lot of it is that it's just things go by so quickly that you're able to dissect something really quick, and people are not going to click on. More people are just going to scroll by it, like it, look at it, and there's one more extra one to click. They're not going to do it. Most people, I would dare say, the overwhelming majority of people,
Yeah, I was thinking that too of how
like
quickly
me.
people are just yeah, it's
Yeah.
quick. And in some way it's
I'm all for it unless it's my stuff you're scrolling by.
well, I'm feeling within me in some way it's a positive thing because I think it's I'm feeling it's like forcing discernment. It's a quick, they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it through that.
You're right. That's a hell of a point. That's a hell of a point because it's not like, oh my God, they missed, goddamn, they missed the boat by not clicking on that one that said it had one more
Yeah.
picture with it. The plus one, so to say plus whatever on it. You got these pictures, and the last one will say +2 or +3 more. Yeah, exactly. It's not like they're gonna, oh my God, goddamn, hey, you remember that one? I'd like to be one of their spirit guys just to fuck with them. But hey, remember that time you scrolled past that shit and you didn't click? That could have been the key to you ascending about 20 years earlier. If you would have just clicked on that, it would have triggered something in you to
You
yeah,
just would have clicked on it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and we don't
right.
have the I don't want to say the I don't know, my like I'm just gonna say it because it popped up. My babe and I, what did he wanted to see, I was hearing the song, Greatest American Hero, believe it or not, but,
I'm walking on air. I
oh,
never
yeah,
thought I could be feel so
so free,
free.
flying
Flying away
away
on a
on a
wing and a
wing and a
beautiful
prayer. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dream.
So we weren't sure if
Note
we
the
could find it. We found it.
1981 to 83, the series ran, but in case anybody wanted to know.
I loved it, and we found it
Yeah.
on Prime, and he wanted to experiment with, he's like, I wonder if it was that good a show, or if it's just something that was special to me as a kid, right? Because I love that show.
I wondered
And
it too. It's funny. Him and I wondered it too. And you know what my answer was? It probably wouldn't help him. My answer was it was a little bit of both.
we watched it. We actually lost interest about less than halfway, but we
Well,
stuck
it
it
goes
out
to,
because we
right, but it
wanted
goes
to
to show
see.
you back then how things were like this. Everything was kind of like the same over and over again. And from week to week, it's like, you know, nowadays you can live it all in one day at one time. And back then it was week by
Yeah,
week. Everything was like that. Sports,
the editing.
entertainment. Yeah.
I mean, there were whole scenes where I was like, wow, they could have done that in like one movement. Wow, they could have, like, my thoughts were, wow, they could have merged that three scenes that looked 10
Right.
minutes into like 2 minutes. Wow, they could.
Good analogy. I hadn't broken it down that way, but that's so true though. Now, I mean, it's really they could have had it done in 2 minutes, and
It's
it's
a,
almost like
it's a, yeah.
just somebody yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it took so much to watch it, and it was
Oh,
such a good. It
God,
was kind of,
man.
my heart hurt a little bit because I love that
Yeah.
show, but it's like, so I wondered to myself, I'm like, could I watch Bionic Man again? I don't know. Maybe it would be moving too slow.
Now I'm hearing that sound. What's that sound that Lee Major, that would happen when they'd start, he'd start transforming into
Da,
that.
da, 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 something, I don't
Yeah,
know.
kind of. It was more of a kind of a vibrating electronica sound.
Yeah, I know. I can't
Yeah, like a
remember
fading
either.
sound.
Um,
But you know what, Carolyn, is hope because there are people out there, and I imagine some of the younger people would be good at this, taking something like that show you watched, right? The America, what the hell was it called again? William Cat was in it. Yeah,
America's Greatest Hero. I think that was it.
Hero,
American.
right. Well, you could probably condense it down into not just highlights, but you could probably damn near move it up quicker, condense it somehow into just a few minutes now. That's probably coming. When you can start
It,
watching your favorite 2 minutes, your favorite half-hour sitcoms from the 80s, or hour sitcoms in 5 minutes.
it is, but I'm getting this weird thing, which is I keep seeing in my head, but the old movies, like I'm talking about 1930s, 1940s, black and
Like
whites, for some
Destination
reason,
Tokyo,
with,
shit like that. Yeah.
yeah, for some reason within me, I see them moving faster than
Cary
like
Grant.
the Greatest American Hero. I see because I'm seeing within me like the details of that they would have on the set, and the conversations, and it was
Yeah.
like more of an art form.
Yeah, but man, some of them. Yeah, but I was still gonna say though, too. Some of those, they dragged and dragged. I mean, they could
They
have
did
taken.
that.
They could have taken
Yeah,
audit. Well, this was in the '60s, but do you remember 2001: A Space Odyssey? They could have cut a fucking hour out of that.
yeah, okay,
They
fine.
just
Yes,
gave me
yes,
space
yes.
for an
But
hour and
that's
shit. You're
art too.
talking.
That's
Okay.
our attention span, which,
Yeah.
in some ways you could say it's a negative thing, but again, I feel like it's not random. It's not by accident.
Yeah.
It's maybe it's about moving
Well,
us into the moment or something.
there's reason and then there's reason. Yeah, I mean exactly. I completely. You and I are on the same page about this. Really, I'm just saying there are some that were like, okay, they could have cut about a half hour out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are the exceptions, but no, generally, yeah, I agree. I mean, they didn't have to have that guy float through space and just watch it for, evermore. Yeah, that's exactly what it was for fucking long. They don't make movies that long anymore that he was doing that shit to the movie.
Oh yeah, 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 it's showing our I'm feeling growth as well. That yeah, I mean, how much information Okay, there's truth to that. Yes. How much information is conveyed now in that short little than used to be, right? So we're processing faster
Exactly. Now we can.
and
Now that can happen. Yeah, it used to be if it was something that quick you weren't getting, you missed it.
yeah. So we're here's
Now you're able to get it condensed, just like it's quantum education. Man.
that's what I'm getting. I mean, like that's what
Yeah,
I'm. Yeah, right now we process faster. That's about ascension. That we
yeah,
process faster. That we're getting that aha faster because we're more aligned. We you
yeah.
know, many still are working on that, but it's like there's more that are more aligned, and it's it's fast.
It's
The
more of that.
information.
It's not that they're just fucking. It's not that they just they just don't want to make the effort. It's a tiny bit that, but most of it, more and more, is that it's just they're picking it up quicker, and they
They're
already know
picking
what
it
they want.
up. It's almost like
Yeah,
osmosis, and
yeah,
I'm now here with the
yep.
100th monkey theory. It's like it's already present, and it's yeah, there's no turning back. That's what I'm getting.
Yep.
And it's of course not, and it's like wow, wow, and I've never connected that before, but yeah, that makes sense. The
Well, it
faster
makes
that
me want to take, if I had a lot of money to burn, it makes me want to take a picture though and put it and say that the person who clicks on this is going to get $100 or going to get $500, and it's going to be one of the pictures behind. And if anybody happens to hit like on it, um, then they're going to get the money. And, the other people will be like, fuck, if I would have if I would actually took the time to look, guilt trip people like that. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that.
it would they look at an image of a
Yeah,
dollar
you don't
bill
have
for
to
like
go by.
a
Like
second.
if I have a bunch of pictures posted, and then it'll say at that last picture, it'll say, okay, there's 5 more behind it, and they don't click. It'll only show on a post on Facebook the 5 pictures. And if you have more,
Ah,
and I think about having one behind there that said it right behind it said, hey, congratulations, you've got the attention span to do this, you've earned this, and somebody else would
yes.
be like, and I thought I was gonna go look at that, but then I just scroll past it. Shit,
And
I'd like
but
to put that in onto people.
this is I can't speak for others, but for me, it's like I process quickly, but I also when I focus, like I focus very, very deeply, and my
Yes, you
attention
do.
is like not short in that space. It's
Very
I'm there.
methodical. She's
I'm
very,
immersed.
very methodical.
Yeah.
Very
Um,
methodical.
yeah, I'm immersed in that space, and yet, but I can still do and I know there's others too, because we're all being conditioned for it. You go to Instagram, you go to Facebook, it's like,
Right.
how quick can you make that? Can you make it quicker? And sometimes to me, they make them
Yeah,
so
take your
quick that
time to
the heart
hurry up. Yeah,
it's
take your
taken
time
out
to
of it,
hurry.
right? It's just this
Right.
image. What was that? I see some people are laughing at stuff, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
you know, it's just
Yeah, I don't think,
it,
yeah.
it's but I also feel like there's more coming out about this and how it serves us.
Yeah, absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
What yeah, people, and you can find something really funny and not laugh. I mean, for instance, a good comedy critic will sit there. It could be the funniest guy he's ever heard in his life, and he'll sit there stone faced and watch because he's heard it all before. And that's kind of what I am. I'm the biggest jokester there is, but if I may think you're hilarious as hell, but I mean, I'm not going to really die laughing, even if it's the funniest thing ever, because I just don't. And it's not that I don't feel that joy, because I do, but it takes a lot to get me in hysterics laughing. I mean, it's only happened a handful of times in my life, and a couple of them been on LSD when I was a kid. So that being said, yeah, it just takes a lot.
Yeah. I
And
understand. Yeah, I
I
mean, I can't.
envy, yeah,
I let myself laugh a lot. I let myself be silly, goofy,
well, sure,
whatever.
sure, sure. Yeah, I don't want it to get misconstrued, because yeah, I'm down with that too and everything, right? It's just that I don't getting in that hysterical laughter because I was born and bred. I mean, I was watching fucking
Yeah.
kind of shit at 3 years, listening to Richard Pryor at 3 and 4 years old, in my room. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, I did Red Fox and shit like that, and George Carlin, right? I mean, I was listening to
God
that show
is
before.
great. Is he the one, Rick Pryor? God is great. You give us chocolate cake. No, that was
I,
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, that was
That's
later
Eddie
on. That was
Murphy.
either Delirious or Raw, but yeah, they were Richard Pryor was kind of the original Eddie Murphy. But I was like
Yeah,
one time I had my son go back and watch that Eddie Murphy special Raw when he was in, he was about 12 or 13. And then I was watching it with him and it was funny, but then I realized, dude, it wouldn't be funny to him. And you know why? Because he doesn't know who the fuck he's talking about. See, you could be the funniest guy on earth, and if you're talking about in the 80s people that were popular in pop culture, you're making a joke about Mr. T or Prince or
yeah,
Billboard,
that's true.
the right. And if you've never heard of any of these motherfuckers, how are you gonna, he hadn't
He
heard
don't
of any
care.
of them. Yeah. So
Yeah,
what
no,
the hell would he? Haha. I mean, hey, Bob Smith down the road said this to Joe Blow, and ha ha ha. Ha. But you have to know Joe Blow and Bob Smith to get the joke, right? To know the
no,
dichotomy of
you
the two
do.
individuals.
You do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
felt compelled to watch because I love Robin Williams, and I've been watching
Yeah.
Robin Williams funny stuff for the last 2 days. And when he was on Johnny Carson, he was going on and on about a couple of this was back in the early 80s. You would have
Yeah.
thought that
He's
I would know what he
fine.
was talking about, but I remembered it a little bit. And then Jonathan Winters was next to him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. 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 Yep.
some of the names Jonathan Winters said, I was like, I've heard that person, but I don't know who that is. I've
Yeah,
heard that person. I don't know who that is.
Contrast that. Yeah, that was the '80s. Williams was talking about stuff there, and then Winters was probably talking about people that were big in the '60s, like a Diana
Yeah,
Shore
yeah,
or whoever the
yeah,
fuck, Perry Como. Perry Como's older than that, but I mean, right? Yeah, if you don't know who they're talking about, how can it be funny? And I was sitting there, guys, like I built my son up. I said, "Geez, son, you think today's comedy's funny? You're gonna have to watch Eddie Murphy and Raw." Then I put on Up and Smoke for him, and it moves so slow compared to how it is. You know what I mean? I thought, God, and if I'm thinking this shit moves slow, my son and his friends must think this fucking shit's crawling like a turtle. It's just it's a different vibration, and we've talked about that too. About how different decades. I was in a conversation about this with somebody on the phone the other night. I brought you up because I said Carolyn and I got into this. She was talking about frequency feelings of different eras and shit, and what it was like in the '80s, and then, you and I had talked about what it must have been like for our parents feeling it in the '60s and the '50s, and before then, the different eras that we went through and what the vibration was like. And I'd never thought it that
yeah,
way till you put it that way that one show, and I'm like, God damn, yeah. Well, I wonder how it was. I don't think I want to go back and know. I mean, because it was really a lot denser of an energy, right? And
yeah,
so, yeah, yeah,
yeah, a lot. I can feel
yeah,
as you're talking about it, I can feel the density of the. And I'm like, I don't
the
like. I'm
80s was
feeling
bad like that.
energetically.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there because I'm feeling
Mhm.
the extreme density difference.
Yeah, let's
Um,
let it stay where it should in the past, right? And then I think a decade, like I've talked about, the '70s weren't even really supposed to happen our timeline. The '70s was kind of like a weird split too, because in the '70s you had still there was the old curmudgeon. Then a lot of people were kind of living footloose and fancy free during that decade, and coming off the '60s before the '80s, and so it was kind of a split era there. So the density might not have been so bad in some places then, but you get into the '80s and about '84 when the corporate control shutdown happened on the planet. Um,
yeah,
yeah, right. And so, talk
yeah.
about two contrasts and difference in decades, the '70s and the '80s. Fuck, like in a 5-year period,
Wow.
just really, well, you and I've talked about that. You
Yeah,
brought it up too.
it's
Just the
huge. It's yeah, and I just have to pinch myself now because
yeah,
I still I still can't believe we're the year that we're in. I mean, I'm sure anybody
225.
that
Yeah, exactly. I can't either sometimes, and it just gets
I
like almost kind of gotten away now, and we're kind of in no time, and we really have been since the halfway point of the galactical shift, which was 2012. The
too.
harmonic
Yeah,
convergence. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
very
feel
much
that way.
so.
Yeah, I feel like what I heard a scientist one time was saying, this was 10 years ago, was saying that time takes about 56 seconds to get through a minute compared to like in the past. You know what I mean? It's still a minute, 60 seconds, but the time, the evolution of the time speed, it has sped up. And boy, if you think about that though, that's 4 seconds, that's 4 seconds a minute, that's 40 seconds an hour. I mean, that's a lot of minutes. That's what, several hundred minutes a day, or is it? Yeah, if my math is right, which is really not good. But I'm into sacred trigonometry really deeply. Yeah. Yeah. Sacred. I'm going to start. That's a new one. I'm going to look that up. Sacred trigonometry. I think that already does exist, the word, but
I'm sure
yeah,
it does.
I can still use the fuck with people. They're like, oh, you mean sacred
I'm
geometry?
sure it
No,
does.
sacred trigonometry. Yeah. But 4 seconds a minute is quite a bit, really. That's that's several minutes per day. Yeah, I mean, it may not
It's
seem like much,
interesting.
but it really is. Yeah, it is
What's that?
interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. It is, and it may not seem like much, right? It may not seem, but it's quite a bit of time, really. I'm having a mental. I'm good at math like that, multiplying shit quick in my head because of my autism. And now I can't. I'm having a brain freeze to what even 10 times 40, 400. So what six at 2400 seconds is a day. 2400 seconds would be. I don't know. I have no clue. I have nothing. God damn it! Didn't they make you take math in college? Yeah, I mean, you gotta know this shit. I mean, did you have to take algebra 2 and all that
You
shit?
have to, yeah, but math was not easy for me.
No, my
Period.
mom had to struggle through it too, and she got her college degree too. But yeah, right. It's like that too. If you're not good at it, something you do what you have to do, and then you don't
You
remember shit
gotta,
about it.
yeah. With my degree, social work, you still had to take math, but you didn't have to take like calculus or any of that stuff. We had to take statistical math, and
Okay. And you're good at it, or you're not. Can you muddle through an algebra problem if you had to? Like, I mean, like if yeah, you're gonna say
roughly,
you
mostly. But
substitute these two.
I had considerable difficulty with algebra. I'm very spatial reasoning, so like when I took
Yeah.
like geometry, I love geometry. I can
Right,
see
it's
it.
a little more intriguing. Yeah, right, right.
It was
It
it was
takes a kind of a mundane, well, not really mundane, because my grandfather was really an exciting, flashy guy. He took the shit in the 40s and he knew calculus. And I mean, he could sit there and draw it out on a paper problem I'd make him prove it to me several times, and he did. And I didn't even know they had invented it yet by then.
I I mean
World War
it's
II.
important. It's mathematics is sound, and it is important, and I come to it as much as I come to it. Um, I lean on my to inform me on that, live. Yeah, you just jumped off and jumped back on.
I did? Okay, that's weird. Huh.
Yeah, I always feel when this happens that it's the guys
Yeah,
or whatever kind of speeding us
yeah,
up.
yeah,
Um,
because I'm going to get into ask. They know because they know it's coming next. I'm going to get into asking about your English lit. Yeah, were you an English lit girl?
no,
Oh well. Oh, okay. Look, she's playing it cool. Like fuck no.
no, I mean it's great, but I no, my social work, and
Yeah, but you had to
human
have all these
services.
other classes, Carolyn. I know that. I'm not an idiot. I don't have my degree complete, but I mean, I know that you had to take all that, right? Like 10 English, writing 101 and all that.
Yeah, I mean, but when you say English lit, I think of like the detailed stuff. Like I didn't take advanced classes in any of that. I had to take the general stuff. I've got an associate in liberal arts, an associate in associate. Why is my mind's blanking? And one is liberal arts. That's music
Yeah,
and
yeah.
art.
I know my grandfather said that's what you get when you don't want to actually do the work to get a degree. He used to tell me that. I'm like,
It
whatever.
is.
Crap,
It's a general degree. It's useful.
yeah,
I mean, I know a lot about art and music. It's a nice general degree. And then I got an
yeah.
associate of arts, liberal arts, and I got another one. The other one I got for some reason, human services. Thank you. That's a counseling degree essentially. And so with
Mhm.
that one, you didn't do, because I had already done the basic classes. That one was more counseling, which I really did enjoy. Um, but yeah, the other, I'm like, you got
Well,
general
in
classes.
the future, they'll have colleges for things like Reiki and advanced telekinesis, and it will be demonstrated. I've talked to people about this and told them, they're like, well, I have learning disabilities and that. Well, these aren't going to be institutes that are going to ask you to learn 3 algebra. They just want to make sure you can demonstrate you're that craft that you're going for. You know what I mean? Whether you're going to be a reader, telekinesis. I mean, there's things you'll have to take but and listen to, but it's not, you're not going to have to take all this other shit that is really not relevant. You know what I mean, to what you're doing.
Yes, for sure. This would be one of the podcasts, the next one, school or
Future, yeah,
something.
yeah.
That
But
the thing I
it is necessary though. Sometimes it is necessary. My daughter's
yeah,
boyfriend's going to graduate this year, and he does it. He's in such a high math, Carolyn. He gets to write his own math. He's a past advanced calculus, and he said his dad designs railroads and shit. He said his dad needs that trigonometry though for what he does. And it was the first time I'd ever heard somebody explain to me how that shit is helpful if you're not actually teaching it. You know, unless you're teaching that when you go on after college. But he said, yeah, he needs and he uses that in his measurements and
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
you'd be
it's
surprised.
a
Yeah.
language. It's an
Yeah.
important language. It's anybody can come to it from any nationality. It's the same language, right? Unless and that part's great. You're getting me from one that I had a lot of trouble with math, but it's
He's
very
Asian too,
significant.
to be fair for that. Not to be
What's
racist. He's
that?
not to be stereotypical, but he is Asian too. That helps. Asian with the brains. Yeah, that helps him. Yeah.
The other thing that's just completely it's on the main topic, but it's off topic of what we're talking about, which I was reminded of is like with the pyramid construction, and they wondered how those big heavy stones were moved and stuff. And to me, that was about frequency.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
yeah, that was about frequency completely, which hasn't come into main consciousness yet, but the knowledge of this is coming. It's definitely coming.
Yeah. And that'll be the real answer to how they were done. Yes, it was help from extraterrestrial, but in kind of a consciousness giving way to do it. And yet at the same time, it wasn't 100 million people breaking their backs their whole lifetime, day in and day out to pay homage to a god. And so they kept putting. I mean, I realized people were religious freaks back then, but nobody was that fucking freaky about it. I just been their own. Yeah, no.
It's the Yeah, now I'm jumping to the when we were talking about, short attention spans and how it's connected to people ascension,
Yeah.
people picking up things faster. And then I was reminded within me about the timeline. I don't know how to say this any differently. Anybody watching in the spiritual community, about 2030 and the reason why all this is happening and the
That's
significance
the real
of
2012. Yeah, the real 2012. 2030 is the end of that 36-year galactical shift. The 12 was just a halfway
yes.
point. So yeah, but that doesn't mean, oh my God, that it's going to be like this paranoia like it was in 2012.
No,
No,
I
it's
don't
just
feel
the end of
that.
an
I
era.
don't, but
No,
but
well, no, it isn't. I have to clarify that because some people will think the
okay.
world's going to end still. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, right. Like they did in 2012. I remember my son's school. They were almost canceled school that day. Like the
I
world's
think
gonna end at the time. What a dumb, like anybody listening, I love you all, but I will just say, what a dumb fuck if you even thought that was a possibility. What did you think that if you lived in London come midnight, it was gonna end like a New Year's Eve? Oh, well, it's midnight. Well, and I'll be over here going, oh, I got 8 more hours than you, haha. And somebody in Hawaii's got another. I mean, what's it gonna end on? You know what I mean? Come on, man, come on, really? Like
2012.
why?
I think I told you already, and I know for anybody listening, 2012 was rough.
Oh, it was rough though. It was really rough energy wise
It was
though.
rough.
That 5 year stretch from 11 till about the end of 15. That
Yeah,
5 year stretch was really rough with energies. Really
rough,
nasty.
rough. Oh
Terrible.
my God, rough. Yeah, rough. But I'll also say it's the reason why we are here
Yep.
now
Absolutely.
because of
Absolutely. What it did was it raised the vibration. We went through that and it was a big time upgrade to humanity over those years, right? A
yeah,
big
it
time
was.
upgrade. Yeah. And with each of them, you're able to handle, like we hadn't had one in years and we talked about this. I think I bring it up almost every other show now, that one that we had in November, right? So that would
Oh yeah,
really, when we were done with that, we had an upgrade, a total as a collective upgrade, right? Plus, it was one of them times too where a bunch of just so coincided with a bunch of people having individual ones more at a higher rate than typical. So
big.
it was an interesting thing and it was really big. And once it was done with, you had that upgrade installed into you, so to speak, if you want to put it that way.
The
That's
visual I keep getting within me, which I'm like, I'm not sure if I should laugh at it or not. I keep seeing like, somebody that's a light worker or somebody that's on mission or somebody that's, and my guides keep showing me something like they're living a life and they're like in the dark. And then all of a sudden the light, again, they're doing the light bulb thing again. The light bulb gets turned on. It's like, whoa, where
yeah,
am I?
yeah. Really, well, where am I? Yeah, well, and you know what? To give the folks credit out there in our community, they really you don't hear anymore that talk about when these eras change. They're not talking about the world coming down. Oh, it's going to be the end of the world. The end
Yeah,
of the
thank
world. The end
God.
of the world. Like how through a nuclear war? What do why manifest? Why project? Why would you want to borrow a problem like that?
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, project that out there. Why would you want to borrow that kind of a problem of the girl's going to, and then how the hell, if you were to sit down, I understand, I'm a paranoid guy too, but when you sit there and think about it logically, how exactly is that going to look like? So what you would have to say is you'd have to say, oh, well, it's going to be this date for some people, and it's going to be that date for the next. I mean, at least I'd give that like 1 second of credence. Okay, it's going to happen on this day, but for who? Because it's going to be the day before, the day after, for somebody possibly.
right.
Yeah, these are the little things that go through my mind that is Larry Locken,
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I know, because your
yeah.
people are thinking, I hear you.
It's just like what you did. It's just like that look you gave. For those of you on Twitch and TikTok and Facebook Live, you couldn't see that. Karen's like, yeah. Karen's like, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then again, folks, I noticed pop machines in the back of a movie. Like you could tell me about a movie I watched from the early '80s, and I'm not going to talk about the movie. But I'll ask you if you've seen that pop machine in that one scene in the background. Isn't that interesting, Karen? Wouldn't that be a good first date topic? Wouldn't that be a hit with the ladies? Go, hey, you know what? I'm really into watching pop machines. Well, can you imagine going on a blind date and having the guy starting with that? Okay, no comment. Anyway, Carolyn Lanier Roberts, is there anything else that you want to tell these great folks before we let them know where in the wonderful places on social media, the wonderful world that is social media, they might find Carolyn Lanier Roberts?
The only thing I'm going to say about the topic is that to be continued. There's a
Yeah,
lot more that we could say. But we've offered a lot, and I'm getting consciousness isn't ready for the rest. They're still opening to what we just
yeah.
offered.
Or it could
Yeah,
be just that. Yeah, right.
the rest is too far a stretch, is what I'm getting. But we are rapidly moving towards that next for sure. Yeah. Okay. So, hello to everybody. I'm Carolyn Lanier Roberts on Facebook and allowing the light on Facebook and Instagram, and I think it's allowing underscore the light
Yeah.
on. Yeah. I'm also on YouTube. I am Carolyn Lanier Roberts on YouTube, and I'm allowing the light on YouTube as well. Is that right?
Yes, you are. Yeah, you are. Yeah, believe it or not, she is walking. Yeah, she is
Okay.
absolutely.
And then I have an Etsy store where I sell my light language infused blessing picks, which are able to be seen on my Instagram account. And except the newest ones, I haven't put those out there yet. But I'm also gonna start putting my doodles out there because they're full of codes. So much
Yeah,
codes, so much energy. Um, and for anybody that's getting more and more sensitive, tuned in, then you're gonna feel that energy is 2025. Yeah, you're gonna feel that energy. Um, Let me say, okay, I offer soul sessions, and I've done these for years where I work with the conversation of the heart. And my job and my joy is to help you in your own personal reality and experience to walk in your highest truth that you are able to and choose to, as I work with you and what some people would call your Akasha within me. It's called the
mhm,
Library of the Heart, and
mhm,
my purpose is to reveal to you the emotions and the feelings that you felt in those spaces that were past, which to me are parallel, and how those are affecting you in this current now, and those energies and those emotions that you're living through, which go out into your reality and come back because they're far more powerful than many people know. They're profound. Those are frequencies, and to help you move into alignment. And this can be with common things you need help with. But I usually go below those common things, because those common things are connected to patterns which you probably received from your ancestors, with no judgment on them, that they needed to survive. But this is a
Yeah.
lifetime when those things are not carried forward, and I am
Whole
here
new
to
ballgame.
help those resonating souls to release those patterns, remove those patterns, and to walk in their sovereignty, is what I'm hearing within me. And I can be reached on my Facebook page, Carolyn&Larry Roberts, or on my Facebook business page, Allowing the Light. I think that's it.
You
Again,
reawaken. I'm disappointed. You only mentioned it once this show, the reawaken. Your catchphrase, I told you that the reawakening. You got to be hammering that home. The
I'm
reawakening of the
here.
heart.
Okay, Larry. I am here to be a reawakener. I say I'm not I'm a reawakener, because everybody that is in service to me at some level, they're all reawakeners. All of the conversation of the heart. And me, the heart's conversation is the conversation that has been ignored, denied, subdued, whatever, which is the divine feminine, the voice over eons of time. I'm not here to point fingers, because eventually they all point back to us. I'm here to help address the underlying patterns that created those imbalances in the first place. And I'm not looking at pointing fingers external, because, again, ultimately those point back. I'm looking at removing, releasing, remedying those patterns so they don't exist anymore. Because once there is a wound within you, and you do that inner healing and bringing things back into balance within yourself, and making peace with things, and moving to acceptance and forgiveness, and these very definitive choices which transform your reality from the inside out,
Mm-hmm.
you are not projecting your stuff in your external anymore. And it starts within every soul. And it's about loving yourself. And I don't give a fuck if that sounds trite. It's the truth. And so,
Yep.
like when we talked about Emoto and the water and everything, you have been given tools in this podcast which take and discern for yourself what fits for you, programming your water, listening to those frequencies, loving yourself. Take the tools, use those tools. You need them. Everybody needs them. Everybody needs those tools. Um, I, I, I guess that's it. I send
Yeah.
blessings and beauty, and I'm grateful for your time and attention. Thank you so much. Thank you, Larry.
Well, I would just say that, yeah, I mean, and I've said this before. Look, people, I've talked to thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I know, endless people that do what Carolyn's talking about. There's only, if you came, there's only, this will be straight up. There's only four of them that I would just blindly say, yeah, that you're going to be, better off for going to them without even flinching. And Carolyn is one of them. And I'm not just saying that because if I didn't mean it, I just wouldn't say it. I just wouldn't say anything or make a comment on it if I didn't mean it at all. I would just wouldn't say
Thank
anything.
you,
Wouldn't say
Larry.
anything bad. But boy, I'll tell you, Carolyn. Boy, I sure would like it if I could get some more people to get me over that 10,000 mark on the Rock and Larry Lock and social media outlets. Boy, I've been
Yeah.
coming on here every week, and I'm losing people on there by talking about it. I'm down to like 25 more people to like the page, and it was 15. And well, maybe I better stop talking about it. But anyway, I sure would like it. Carolyn would sure rest a lot easier, and so would her husband if they knew that I had that. Anyway, down in San Antonio during this heat wave, and it's really hard to sleep down there anyway. So if you could really go and like that page and follow it, you won't get really any notifications because the only time I only post to it when I'm doing a new platform or something. Posts don't go to there. It just tells in a nutshell. This is where you can find everything that I'm involved in. Period. Whether it's all I could go through people. I'm on every social media platform except for probably SunCloud, okay, and LinkedIn and a few others. But I mean, you name it the big, everything, the eights and the chats and the grams and the ounces and whatever. I'm all on them. Okay, I'm all over the ounces. Believe me, in a lot of different ways sometimes. But yeah, you can find me at Rock and Larry Lock and social media outlets. Everything, groups, pages from Facebook, YouTube, all of it. The 5 YouTube channels I have, Larry Locken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 channel, they all have different handle names though. The handle names are their old names. Like this one we're on now is Larry Locken 1 channel at Pleiadian Express Production / YouTube. And then, okay, so you can have a different handle name and a different YouTube name. Most people don't realize that though. Their handle name is the same as their regular name, but you can have both. Thank you, Francesca Rose, for telling me that, by the way, a long time ago. Yes, so that's where you can find me, and you can also Google or type it in Facebook by the Larry Locken Network because it's got 2 names to it. Like you can have, I'm getting so tired of saying that word "got." I noticed that I hate, and now I'm getting but have. Okay, it has 2 different names to it. Okay, so Rockin' Larry Locken social media outlets, and boy, I tell you what, we all sure would sleep. I know the Rainbow Orbs page. Everybody that likes that would sure sleep better tonight if it got closer to that magical number of 10,000. And I promise it'll be the last number I ever obsess on in my life. If I could just get over that hump. If I could just really, Carolyn's looking at me like, yeah, let go, boy. I feel sorry for you. Yeah, but anyway, people, I really enjoy this time I have with Carolyn, and it's always really a breeze to do a show with her. Yeah, sometimes I get in a zone and like I can't even remember. I was telling her I can't remember the show. I can't even remember the show last week. I know what it was about, and I can't remember even doing it afterward. It was just it's so great, and I love everybody out there, and
Yeah, I remember the
appreciate
show.
it.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody. Shout out to the Pleiadian and Angelic Rainbow Orbs page on Facebook. Much love to everybody there. The light language keeps on flowing and going, and it don't stop, and it won't stop. And hopefully, you'll tune in next time. And we'll be here, same time, same channel. And I could come up with a bunch of cliches, but we need to get off of here so I can.
That channel.
Same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah, same badass time, same badass channel. You got Carolyn in here. And come on down too. And if you're San Antonio, I'd encourage you. Sometimes she doesn't talk about it. I'm going to Crazy Carolyn's used car lot. She's even got a good deal. You can get the mileage you want on a car. If you only want it to be a certain amount of mileage, she'll roll that thing back for you. And boy, that thing will be like it was when it first rolled off the truck in 1979. You get one there, and she guarantees you can get it off the lot at least. You'll be able to drive it off the lot that far. Anyway, okay, yeah. Yeah, push that thing off the lot. But she'll even give you a free brisket when you come in. I heard you guys have that down there. Anyway, yeah. So okay, it's been Rockin' Larry Locken. Yeah, it's the only state in the union that it's cheaper to eat out, they say, than eat at home. And I never got that, but I saw a documentary on it that said that. Must be because all that roadside.
I've learned that Texas keeps this is what I've been taught, and it's the truth. Texas keeps the best cuts of meat for themselves. I've stopped eating certain meats, so I mean the only meat I eat is fish. I don't know if you call that meat, but I eat fish.
I don't even eat that. I haven't eaten any of that in years.
Yeah, but it's but Texas, that's something you'll learn when you're in Texas. That awesome steak that you get in that restaurant, yeah, you get that in the grocery store in Texas. Everybody eats that stuff. So, yep. That's Texas.
That's it. That's Texas. Hey, that's Texas. Yeah. All right. Yeah, because the stars at night are big and bright down there, and Carolyn's even told me so that it is true. So, with that being said, I am Rockin' Larry Locken for Carolyn&Larry Roberts, and I'm going to give everybody a big cosmic dating game kiss. Mwah. Da, 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 da. All right, and we're out, Carolyn. I'll be with you in a minute. Okay, we're signing off here. Okay, goodbye, Facebook Live. Goodbye. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. We're the dogs of society howl. You can't find me in your penthouse, so I'm going back to the plow. Okay, all right, we're out. Did I end there? Okay, in there, and twist. Bye. Now I can't. Yeah, bye. It'll take me 5 minutes to get off of a TikTok here, finding the button. So I'll be with you in a minute, Carolyn.
Okay.
Yeah. Go get a haircut or something. I'll be right back.